Ghouls, demons, and fellow weird ones. Let's drink some moon juice. Joining me today is Daddy-O, Robert Bradshaw. We're gonna just be yapping, and you guys get to see me be myself and talk to my soul dad.
I'm super excited to be here. This is my internet debut, and thank you, daughter, for dragging me along in the journey. Not really dragging, not kicking and screaming.
Well, thanks for offering to be here. It was like kind of a collaborative choice, which I think it was really organic. It wasn't like this formal, which I feel like I do trying to invite people to podcasts and do things. Like, one, Riley just been bombarded me. And so then I felt like that nerve, and then trying to, I don't know, everyone it feels different when they know they're being perceived. And then it's how do you it's kind of, I feel like it's a nervous system shock until you do maybe build the tolerance to it. But just no matter how many times I've done it, I've done a few different reps and I've practiced, I've failed so many times. What I'm putting out there is actually a few years of trial and error that I did in fucking private. And so it's well, now I'm doing it, but no matter how many times, I still feel in my body, this is cool. I'm just talking to my dad.
But I'm experiencing the nervous part because it's there's people listening. But there's gonna be.
Well, I think it's also, we're black sheep people in our family. So if we bring it into our healing the inner child thing that we talk about and all these other things, being perceived is kind of stressful. And then it's also the fear of judgment, which the internet has not been the kindest place for me in so many ways. And not to sound naive, I just think I'm really lovable, not in an arrogant way, but I don't know, people in person like me. I can understand. I have foundation of evidentiary support that hey, I'm fun. How many people told me to do this? This wasn't part of my life. This wasn't my plan. I was just listen, I don't want no problems. I just want to be safe, and I'm gonna work this OT job, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna lose myself in the gym. And then now I got married, I'm gonna lose myself in my family, because I just really want to hide, essentially, in my little shell that I feel is safe, and very few people are welcome into it. And then once you're welcome into it, you're absorbed into it. And so anyway, then you start to kind of show yourself, because people who love you, very genuinely, I've had strangers, I've been on the internet since the internet. I've met MySpace girl, I did Facebook when it very first started. I had so much fun with it, but then I also got super grounded all the time for stuff I would post and express myself. And Mom, Dana, was really, really about it. And I don't know if she knew how to handle it. I give her grace, because I don't know how you handle these things. It is unsafe. She's probably hearing all this stuff going on, and she's just trying to be a good mom. But at the same time, I'm fuck you. Let me do what I need to do with this internet, this tool of mine. If you would have just let me run with it. I feel stunted, because I'm I could have done so much. I was doing so much, but you punished me for it every time. I posted a poem. You would recognize what emotional situation that represented, and I was embarrassing you publicly, which is not the intention. I'm just writing a poem and being vulnerable about my personal experience as this dramatic teen movie that I'm living.
Totally. And it's not about you, Mom. It's about my experience, right?
Yeah, and if you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. But I am not publicly shaming you, but in return, you publicly shame me and humiliate me at home and ground me and make me feel bad for this art that I'm pursuing, this transmutation of emotion that I want to experience. And I really love the internet. I handle the internet differently than I think a lot of people do, or I think some people do. I know Lana Del Rey's she's well known for doing that with Tumblr. I wasn't really into Tumblr. I wasn't really into Pinterest, but I fucking loved Instagram. When Instagram started, I just loved posting. To me, it was my diary photo album, because I love photos, and here's a place to store it. But I love what Instagram's doing now, where I have music, because I was very MySpace. I love creating the profile and designing all this stuff. I need this on my face. I love it, but I need it on my face. It's hitting my eyelash. But anyway, I really love that self. I am feeling this way, so my profile is going to be black and gray, and I'm gonna put this really fucking emo song on there, and I'm gonna post a status, and I don't care if people know how I feel. Yeah, my relationship or my feelings are public. I never really cared. I mainly it was for me, a journal, but people had access to it. And I just thought, if we were all doing this, the whole point, the social agreement, is that we're going to be kind to people's you're coming into someone's inner world. So if you're creating this thing and the whole point is for community and friendship and all this fucking stuff, are we like, isn't the whole point of being here to like not necessarily be nice to each other, but be human to one another? And the plot has been super fucking lost. And so it really fucking irritates me, especially the more public I am or the more recognition I get. I've always been public. I've never done, like, every now and then I've had to go private for like legal reasons or whatever, which is a whole other like part of my crazy life. But I've always kind of put my heart on my sleeve and I've always been out there. I've always like had these just expressions and I kind of just didn't care who saw it, but people who saw it, it seemed like it was a really specific person who loved it or understood it, but I don't know why like there was this resistance, but most of the resistance was at home. So then I'm instantly defensive to a stranger because the people who are supposed to keep me the safest are doing this, and then you're a stranger, so I'm gonna instantly assume the worst and I'm gonna defend myself to the death.
I think you said it best though. Like you think about that like unspoken social contract that like everybody says, okay, we're all on the internet together doing the social thing, and this is how we're going to be, and like we're just going to be humans to each other. I think that comes with like we're not necessarily going to respect each other as humans. We're just going to be humans with all of our flaws too. Like I'm going to bring my authentic self. And if someone else's authentic self is like, hey, I'm going to trash on some people or I'm going to talk shit to somebody just because I don't like their hat or whatever, like I don't like something about them, or maybe I'm insecure and I just want to trash on somebody. Like, I think that that's a human thing too. Not that it's okay. Like, we're not condoning it. Like, that sucks. That's the thing we're trying to like sort out and get past and understand a little bit so we can take it apart. But I still think that there's something very human about this. Let me take my anger out on someone else, and it's an easy button, right? It's like, oh, I can get in here and like easy button trash on somebody, and that like that's my dopamine feed because I'm angry inside, or I'm complicated inside, or I'm fucked up for fucking reason.
It's
Like
that
we
one sense
are,
of control. Because
yeah.
like the internet, it's not a real place. And like here's the thing, it's not a real place in a variety of ways. Like there's a balance to that perspective, right? Like you still have to live your real life and you can't get lost in the internet. So no, the internet's not like a real place, but again, accepting people's flaws. The like reaction to just like so many different, how many screenshots have I sent you of me like getting these comment wars about just like, hey, like, you know, generally speaking, like, I mean, I've been an asshole on the internet. I'm not saying I've been perfect in this, but like when I was canceled and having this, like, I'm trying to have like a debate, and I get passionate in my voice and I have like a real fun wordplay sense of expression, and I do express all my emotions very colorfully. So I understand how it appears to people. My husband tells me all the time it's a little threatening. And I love it because I just feel all the emotions as deep as possible. But like through all of the imperfect expressions of that, there was never once like any like influence or any of the big people that chose to take the opportunity to like shit on me. There was never anyone like the benefit of the doubt was lost. Like it wasn't like, okay, what is her intention? No one stopped to pause to be like, okay, you said something really imperfect, or maybe you came across crass and all of this. And it's like, well, okay, I'm not a victim. I'm just gonna express my background. Well, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, and this is my thought process. I will explain my thought process, and I think it's kind of scares people that like I can explain myself like as deeply as I can, and I'm not being a victim, and I'm not necessarily excusing myself. I'm trying to gain some sense of like empathy and understanding to be like, I don't really want to hurt anybody. Like it's not really in my nature. Like I didn't want it to get ugly. I didn't want it to get here, and I was trying to make a point, and then the point had to just kind of keep getting sharper for it to like click or pop or whatever. And now I'm the bad guy, which is why I used like a metaphor one time in one of my videos. I called myself a rose, and I said I had thorns. And it was like, you have to like, there's all of these different things, but and it's not to say that I wasn't instantly defensive. A rose has their thorns ready to go all the time. So it's like, I'm not like, I didn't give myself an opportunity to like even lay my own sword down. Like my sword was up right away. Like we both had our swords right up. We were ready. We were already ready to duke it out. And so I was like, we were mirroring that within each other, which is why it's like a spiritual lesson of evolution. And I've learned a lot from it. And even though people are, you still defend yourself? Yes. I still stand firm on what I fucking said and where I was in that moment. And I can explain it to you. This is how I healed. This is where I'm taking my accountability, but this is also where I accept myself. And you're not gonna make me like, people are trying to make me like not accept myself. And I was like, no, I fully embrace myself in this way. And I don't think that you should like hold it over me for all eternity. Like I'm free of it. And I've been free of it for a very long time, but not on the internet. The internet is a place of grudges. And I was like, I thought we were all expressing ourselves here, and like you're still not getting the fucking message, because then the same people who just like, God, it fucking irritates the shit. I mean, I don't want to call everyone stupid. Like, I hate being called stupid. So I understand like the ignorance, but like, you want to, then you complain. Everyone gets on the internet for all of these complaints about Palestine, about Iran, about all these wars and everything, but you couldn't understand why I wanted to defend the life of a mouse. Like, you don't get the spiritual wisdom at the core root of it. If we cared about bugs, do you imagine, could you see how that care on that small scale, that ripple would affect into humans? If we cared about bugs or mice and their life and how we treat them, even in ritual sacrifice, which I like am so over people hiding behind fucking religion. These are the same people who obviously haven't deconstructed their cultural lens of like Abrahamic religion that is influencing all religion and spiritual practices. So if you're like voodoo and hoodoo and you're having deconstructed everything, me saying that there's a whitewashing into your practice is not me trying to be offensive. It's me trying to say, hey, like, you have to understand, like, the water has been muddied. And if we're trying to purify the water, you have to acknowledge all of these historical things that made it ugly. I'm calling out the ugly, not because I'm ugly, but because like I'm trying to clean the ugly.
Right.
It's like, it's right here. Like, hey, I like, eventually, like, I've talked to so many people of color and like the full spectrum. I have asked so many people, like, cause I really want I want to be proven wrong. I think like I get on these like fixes where it's like, I won't let it go because like I know not that I'm right, but I'm just like, I feel so right about it, and people were so upset about it. Well, how can let me find how I'm wrong. Let me be the bad, like, and that's, I think, something from childhood too, but it's just like, yeah, I have to find peace with it, and all my peace with it is I'm right, and I have to be okay with being right, I guess, or like just right for myself, regardless of how anyone else wants to interpret that. Like, I've made my peace with it, and I can't keep beating this dead horse, but every time I reach a certain level, someone has to come back from the internet and humble me of something that happened now 3 years ago when I was 26 years old, and everything else that I was going through. Like, every time I've been upset on the internet, it's been from a personal experience that led me to this rock bottom of this philosophy, to understand the wisdom at the deepest truth that it could possibly be. And now I'm trying to rise it up to the surface. And the closer you get, like, it's like a pressure thing. So I have to slowly, I guess. I think I'm not pacing myself, and so I'm combusting, you know?
And like, it's like, to me, it's like you're trying to balance your intention with navigating this super complex, like, ecosystem of humans and their opinions and their things out there, right? And that's not really an easy thing to do, right? It's not like you're going in and saying, nope, I'm 100% right, no one can change my mind. You're open to listening and listen, and like to understanding, and say, okay, like, tell me where I'm wrong, let me find where I'm wrong. But I think what your intent is, like, you want to come into something, even if it's like a shitty bit of commentary, with like, let's debate to build each other up. Let's not debate to tear each other down. And for whatever reason, like, I mean, I say whatever reason, like, we understand like the histories of traumas and shit like that, and people's insecurities and these things, and what the source of those are. We can all be patient and understand those things. But if you can't use your words to build each other up in debate, like, then there's not really a reason to discuss much, right? Like, you can, and sometimes it's a little bit interesting to watch. I say for myself, like, it's fun to watch from the sideline and go, oh, look at the fuck those two people are doing. Holy fuck. Oh, fuck,
Yeah.
is getting deep. But at the same time, it's like, it's kind of sad, because you're like, well, shit, like, look at the thing that's going on between two complete fucking strangers. And it's like, I'll bet that there's some common ground, And I'll bet that there's a way to have a discussion where they could both walk away bigger and better. And instead, it's like the opposite. Or one
Yeah.
feels good and the other person feels like shit. Or who knows what happens whenever they like close the fucking laptop. But I mean,
Well,
it's
right.
just
And
one of the things, right? Like it's your intent that you're bringing, and you're trying to navigate that in this like super complex world of humans that are just relatively anonymous, just trashing.
well, yeah, because you never know what someone's going through at home. Like, there's all of the statistics about, like, young girls committing suicide and all these things, like internet bullying, and like the image of what the youth is going through is quite
Fucking
real. I think to a sense, this is where I, as sensitive as I am, I also have like kind of a rigid stance, about how I think there needs to be, I call it detachment, which I think there's healthy levels of detachment and dissociation. I think the brain and the ego develop that for not just a safety mechanism, but for another like reason. So this could be what I would call integrating a shadow. Like, so if I have like issues with dissociation, how can I help my nervous system do that? Well, I can turn it into like a positive thing. So when I'm having these really deep emotional conversations that are really triggering, I can dissociate or detach from my emotion, not like a sociopath or a psychopath or anything harmful, but just to look at it super objectively. So like when I was they call it channeling. This girl, this woman, lady, Rebecca, one of my astrology people that I talk to, because I'm just me. I've like been trying to learn who I am, but as I've been doing the spiritual path, she told me, a few spiritual practitioners, shamans, and all these people I've talked to have told me I'm a channeler. So when I'm just yapping and just ranting, there's like a psychic connection, and I'm channeling through a message of some kind. And so it could be like it's all the throat chakra work and all of these different things. So a lot of my videos, the videos that I've gotten the most traction on, or in the past anyway, like if I tried to talk in a video and really like orchestrated it tanked, nothing happened, I felt weird. But there were moments like through these debates or these acts of passion, like inspired action, then I would just be me, and I would just go on there and I would defend not only myself or whatever stance I was defending, just like I would in person. You've seen me do it. You've seen me go full Sarah on people.
bull-
Because like at some point, fucking enough is enough, and like I will get there. And I've been trying to make that, like, I want it to be a positive thing. I don't want it to be, I don't want to be this weapon of destruction in a sense. But when I'm channeling, or that's how it's been digested to me, and I kind of like that. Like, I like the verbiage of it. I try to hold space for both. Like, I do believe in the spiritual, like, potential, but I also like to think, that could not be true. So, like, what else could the grounded scientific whatever reason?
What can we
So
measure?
anyway, yeah. So I said, you're like, one of the things that I said was like, you're no better than a slave owner. And I'm thinking, in my brain, I'm thinking, because I just got done reading Nietzsche, and I'm thinking about the herd mentality, slave mentality, and all these things. Like, so like my brain is pulling on certain words in a certain way. And it's almost, like purposeful to use that language to deconstruct a culture that is one of not even not even the most modern enslaved group of people, but they still have like deep ancestral trauma, and they're not doing the ancestral trauma work to like deconstruct that. And so there could be a spiritual purpose in why I said what I said within the way that I said it, because I was like, when I've looked at the video, there is a difference in me being intentional and not channeling, and me channeling. I feel like the more people learn me talking and like things like that, they can kind of feel the difference. I'm kind of always in a state of channeling. One lady said you're just like a channel clicker, and like that's why I get burnt out and get that cognitive fatigue and stuff, because I'm just like constantly in the woo of everything. So anyway, I said what I said for a reason, to initiate people into a deep set of thoughts. So like you say, planting seeds, which is not always comfortable, to break ground and dig things up. Like you can only imagine like that one hurt, to like take a chunk of, you know what I mean? So taking a chunk out of the heart and like inserting something in hopes that like it turns into something bigger, which is why I wrote the 15-page fucking dissertation. I don't know if you remember me sending that to you. But I was just like, the internet thinks I'm racist, and I just couldn't believe that anyone would think that I would hate somebody for something so stupid. Like, I was like, listen, if I hate you, like my ethics of hatred, I don't like having hate in my heart. I firmly don't believe in having hate in my heart, but the people I do have hate in my heart for, it is so much deeper than something as superficial and ridiculous as your skin color or your cultural background, your name, your gender. I don't fucking give a fuck about any of that because you're not abusing anybody. I hate you because you're an abusive fucking cunt and I kind of want you to die because people like you are the reason why there's bad things in the world, and my world is rainbows and butterflies, and I swear to God, if it's not pretty all the time, I'm having a tantrum, which is reflected in my story. Do you remember my story, Melinoe and Asmodee? So like the scene which Chad's a mirror of that, the masculine mirror of those tantrums. As soon as like in the story, he ruined something in the romance, right? And so the spiritual reaction on a goddess like mythological level was that the world was collapsing. And so if you mirror that into what's happening in the world right now, and we can get into the patriarchy talk that you and I talk about, but this patriarchal ruining everything, making things ugly, ruining the beauty, the essence of so the goddess then reacts and the world's collapsing. Mother Nature is literally attacking humans, which you could argue that human species, mankind, we have that in the language, I think, for a reason, is it's an unhealthy masculine and it's poisoning the world and not doing what it's supposed to do. So the feminine is reacting in this like doomsday. And so if we can like align ourselves, everything I think mirrors in the world. So everything that I've been through has been kind of trying to get to this understanding of love and evolving out of these abusive, potentially primordial, like I can give people all the benefit of the doubt in the world that there was a time, an evolution millions of fucking years ago where we needed these behaviors or we needed these cultural customs. I am not judging anyone for the time that they were born. Like, I think that it's so fucking dumb to judge people who are dead, like dead. I mean, like, we're talking like 500 years dead, and you're mad at them and you want to take down this. I don't care about statues. I don't care if take down the statue to put up something like an evolution of something, but don't get rid of the history, because I think the history is important because they're all breadcrumbs to how we evolve. So I am giving everyone an ounce of empathy, respect, benefit of the doubt, humanity, that you were who you were because of the time, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, like, I would be me just in a 1600 version, in a 500,000 BC, whatever. Like, I don't fucking know. Like, any of those times, I think I would be me, but shaped in this way. So like, when people do fashion, that's why fashion's important. So if I was to be in if I wore an outfit, a costume, I would still be Sarah, but in that costume. And then I would have, if I was an actor, I was acting. It'd be like, well, this is who I would be. That's what certain actors like Johnny Depp or I don't want to bring him up because the internet fucking hates him for all this stupid shit. But I'm trying to think of a good one. Not so much Leonardo DiCaprio, because I think he can be quite different, but Ryan Reynolds is a good one in a way. Like, he's himself, but just in different multiverses of his spectrum, like he's an asshole, jokester, whatever, in every character that he plays. It's Ryan Reynolds. It's really not Deadpool. It's Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. Like, we kind of don't really know who Deadpool would actually be unless you're reading the comic in which he was initially created. Everything else is an extension of that. So anyway, I forgive people who fucking died and were a part of history, and it happened, and I'm not going to waste my time about it. And hey, how can I evolve this? How can we learn from this? Because I firmly believe that everything manifests as the universe experiencing itself for us to have evidence to calculate what not to do or what to do.
If we don't have a map of our history, we're not going to be able to put together a map for our future, right? We have to have these things. We have to understand where we came from. Otherwise, we're destined to repeat the same thing again, right? We're humans and we have a human nature. And so, if we don't understand what happened and how we got here, then what's to prevent us from trying it again?
Right. So that's where it comes, the internet, we're obviously not handling it properly. So how can we have a better culture of the internet? Because, everyone's all doomsday about everything. And I believe we can have our cake and eat it too. I'm a firm believer, and I get everything that I want, how I want it. And I think everyone can achieve that to some level of themselves. And by that, I mean, We can have AI technology. We can have the cities and I love cities. I love modern life. We have some cool stuff. We don't have to destroy the earth to do it. So when it comes to AI, is it really going to destroy the world, or is that like a fear mechanism? Because I firmly believe in all the psyopses, not so much conspiracy, but I genuinely don't think anyone understands what is true anymore, because people are fucking with us very intentionally. Because, like, depending on where you are, I get something different every fucking day on this thing because I intentionally stress it out to see what it'll feed me. Because I'm curious, I'm just like, like, I like experiments in that way. So, like, I'll be like, I'm gonna make my feed as far right wing as I possibly fucking can. And all you have to do is like certain stuff. And after a couple days, it's like, this is who you are. And I was like, nah,
Totally.
bitch, I tricked you, bitch. Like, that's not who I am. I'm just investigating. I'm being nosy about what are people who think this way experiencing on the internet right now. And then you like, okay, well, then you go the opposite direction, as far left as you can possibly go. And then it's like, well, this is what these people, Chad and I get completely different things. I'm like, and it's so, I'm like, okay, no one knows what's real anymore. And people are losing their fucking minds because you're stressing out everyone's fucking nervous system because they have no sense of reality, because you're not just telling us the truth.
There's just proof that the algorithms are working, right? All of that
Well,
shit's
yeah.
by design, right? It's like, hey, let's figure out what your preferences are. And then we're going to keep feeding you these preferences. We're going to keep you a little bit agitated, but we're really going to sell your attention to advertisers and marketers to get you to spend your money, right? It's really just a money game in that regard, right? It's like, here's some content for you. And you're going to attach yourself to it. And we're going to move the needle one way or the other for you so you stay plugged in because we're selling your attention.
Well, then how do we know what problems are actually worth focusing on? Because, like, do you
Yeah,
know how many people I know who are just stressed out because they're like, I don't know what I'm only working on my problems in my personal life at this moment. Like, everything that I try to help people with is through my own experience. I'm solving my problems, and this is how maybe it can help you solve your problems. But I don't know.
I mean, at the end of the day, like that's not the product, right? At the end of the day, like they don't care and they don't like the like proverbial the makers of these things, right? The designers of these platforms that we all engage with every day. Like the point isn't to help you solve your problems. The point isn't to, hey, let's inform you about the world. Like that's not the point at all. The point is to let's keep you engaged. Let's keep your attention stuck right here so we can sell that, right? So we can show to our advertisers and the people that do business with us, hey, look at this user. They've engaged with us for 8 hours today. That's pretty good. How much will you pay us for your advertising space? And like, it's just
Well, they're
that,
breeding
that's the
ignorance, but
demise.
that's the demise of not
Yeah,
only the country but the world.
right. It's gonna
And I
be
know because like other countries have other internet restrictions, and I'm not all for restrictions, but it goes as deep as lying to kids about Santa Claus. Like that's like what like I'm serious. Why are we like? There's not this understanding of like metaphor and like imagination, which I'm all for. Like I don't necessarily think like everything has to be poindexterly like factual. I understand like poetry and like like reading into things, but generally speaking, people are having arguments over things that they were taught in school. And I know things like evolve, but it's like not everyone's getting like the same education or understanding of basic biology, simple math. Like there's core subjects that people aren't understanding, and then you see it in like this adulthood of like social dynamics because like nobody really knows what's real, and so they're attaching themselves to the only thing that makes them feel safe. The only thing that makes them feel safe are these experiences that they personally like found to build their own cocoon of security.
sure, totally. Like it's the cocoon of what's familiar to me, right? The things that I'm comfortable with. This what I feel safe with are the things that I'm comfortable with, and typically that's maybe the shit that I agree with, right? My feed is filled with things that are like, oh yeah, I can like click that. I like that. That sounds good. And every now and then something will pop up like, oh, then I don't like that. I can get rid of those things, right? I can like refine the algorithm to just feed me the shit that I like. And so that sounds super comfortable. It's not super healthy, right? Like, I mean, what is it about our society that like for whatever reason, we have this like inherent desire to only live around people that agree with us, right? We hear all the time about these utopias where everybody just agrees and gets along, and like these little tribes that like we've all subscribed to the same philosophies and ideologies, and that sounds great, and nothing gets challenged, and we can all just like plant fucking vegetables and and survive. Like I don't know what it is about humans that like they have this inherent like thing in their mind that that's utopia, but it sounds really fucking boring. Like it sounds awful. Like we need to be debating, we need to be disagreeing, we need to like see this balance between the chaos and the order, right? We need to understand the difference between a person who brings this profile of like, I don't want things to change. I need things to stay the same because I need more order in my life versus another person whose profile is like, hey, I need to bring you some art. I need to bring you something different. I need to like challenge the status quo. There's this dichotomy that has to happen in our society. And for whatever reason, we want to refuse to acknowledge that. And we'd rather just like chant like, fuck the party that wears red jerseys and fuck the party that wears blue jerseys. And it's preposterous. It's completely preposterous because both bring something very fucking useful and very like it's absolutely required. And I don't get it either, but I'm constantly frustrated by that thing where people feel this inherent need to only like to only talk to people or only engage with people that see things the same way that they do. And we're always trying to convince people, oh, if you just saw things the way I do, well, you could come over here to my camp and we could all get along and it'd be fun. And really, it's not going to be that fun. Like, it's going to fucking suck. You're going to get bored and then you're going to have to go find some people that don't agree with you.
Well, so I think like, well, one, we're taking the fun out of life. So like, it's fun. Okay, so like, I don't know what fucking football team you like. Seattle,
You know where
you.
I live, so you do know.
Well, I don't know. I
Well,
don't know if that's like your number one team your
I
whole
mean,
life, or I don't know if you
I
changed. You're a bandwagoner because they won the Super Bowl.
I literally we watched the Super Bowl together the last time the Sox won the Super Bowl, and who was I rooting for in that?
I don't remember.
God. Well, we
Yeah, I
won.
know. Trust me,
We
I'm just
won
talking
that
shit.
one
I'm
and
just
this
talking shit. Anyway, so okay, so you're a Seahawks fan. Anyway, I'm a fucking Eagles fan. Funny, we like both like
one.
birds.
That is funny.
Yeah, I know. You remember. There's certain things I don't remember. I'm so sorry.
Well, there's tons of
I
shit.
do know that we watch the Super Bowl all the time because that was always my birthday.
Right.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Anyway, so it's fun to talk shit, right? That's my whole point. Is like it can be fun to like
Of language.
fuck you, yeah, about your team, and I love getting into that.
Yeah.
But we've taken the fun out of it. We've made it like really serious. And like, here's the thing: I think it's super fun I mean, I shit on everybody politically, but I love when you see a good fun like Republican like leftist liberal whatever conservative debate. Like you see the two, like I love when friends oppose each other but they like fully love and support. Like so Chad and his bestie Brian, who's my birthday twin, motherfuckers don't agree on shit. But you want to know something? Brian's like, Chad was the only fucking friend of mine who visited me in the hospital. Like, Brian's like, listen, Chad talks some shit, and I do not understand why he thinks or says some of the stuff that he says, but that's a good man. He has a heart of gold, and he has, I've said it before, he's literally given me the shirt off his back, but Brian, the way Brian talks about it and like about him, I'm like, Chad's a good person. But you're not going to agree with Chad, like at all. He's a really difficult person, and I love that about him. That's why I love him, because we have great conversation, and I like getting rage baited into a rant. It's fun for me. So but people don't have fun with that anymore. They take it very seriously. They take it too hard, and then they're attacking people. They're attacking their livelihood. People have ruined people's lives over certain, and they're like, well, it's not a difference of opinion, it's a difference of value. And I was like, we have no respect for free will, and I think we're too busy trying to control everybody. And the more regulation, that's why like I say philosophical anarchy is what I umbrella under, because I firmly believe in everyone's right to choose the life that they want for themselves as long as they're not abusing anybody. And we've allowed abuse to circulate through the globe through corrupt legislation, which started with the Abrahamic religion in government, which is some of the first forms of government. So anyway, it's all embedded in everything. And it's all, and I feel like, especially because like it's all rooted in like men's controlled women. So it's all, but it's also like not just like male, female, it's humans need to control nature. And instead of like harmonizing with nature, we're trying to control it instead of flowing with it. And I don't like surviving, but I don't have a better word, but living with nature, just like every other creature that exists here. We have no respect for the planet, and I don't think that, I think we will die before the world ends. We'll be like the next dinosaurs. We're gonna be extinct. Like, I don't, people are like, oh my gosh, you gotta protect the planet, it's like we're not gonna survive. And I think people are in this like delusion that this flesh version of flesh suit is gonna survive. No, we are going to prove to the universe, to the gods, that this is an improper calculation that does not compute, that does not work. Kaboom. Delete. Mass delete.
Completely. Like I mean, we've been engaged in unfair transactions with our planet for a very, very, very fucking long time.
She's
Right?
having enough. She's
I
having
mean,
enough.
I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, she's showing all of those signs, right? She's having enough. I mean, but I think like we're entering a time. I mean, it's literally the work I do is to try to point out or give like the planet a bigger seat at the table when it comes to, okay, like we're gonna have to make a transaction. We need to build this thing, right? Even if it is like well-intended solar farm or something like that, we need to build this solar farm. Okay, well, like there's a transaction with like the surface owners of the property, there's the public, there's these other things, but like where's the planet, right? And
You
like
have to do it in a certain way. Like
right,
there's
well,
the
it's like at least
balance, and
consider it,
we're,
right? We have to
yeah.
consider it, and we like haven't ever done that, right? I mean, especially in the last whatever 250 years when a man
Well, so,
showed up and was like,
sorry.
"Hey, manifest destiny. We're gonna carve our own fucking spot on this goddamn place," and we did, and we've been doing it for a long time, and now look what we're doing, right? Like now look at Mother Nature is pushing back, and we're kind of like half of us, well, not even half of us, but there's a material amount of us that are saying, well, that's all bullshit. Like the planet's not pushing back, and it's like, no, but it is. There's plenty of evidence to show it, right? There's all kinds of things, and then like, well, those things just happen, and now we're just debating it rather than like saying, oh, climate change is real or climate change is not real. Like I think it's a preposterous conversation to not just enter in and say, no, like these transactions that we're making with our planet are unhealthy. They're not
Well,
fair.
yeah, I just
They're
think
not fair.
every part of society. So, like, you talk about the solar farm. This is my like whole point. Is like we're not structured properly. We are structured. We are set up to fail within. You could blame capitalism. I don't fucking know like what to label the problem. But like, why are we tearing down forests and doing all this stuff for solar farms when we can literally make it mandatory to have fucking solar power panels on every fucking roof of every fucking building that fucking, like, you can design things to flow like we used to, like, but no, it's like this. I don't know why you think you have to have your power over here separate from you in your mansion. That doesn't make any sense. Your mansion, you should have solar power energy and I don't get why we don't have water power things. Like I don't know what happened to those water wheel things that you used to see. Like
Yeah,
there's so many sources that we could integrate into our society that would give us everything that we need. Like I said, we can have our cake and eat it too. I can go to a fancy 5-star restaurant and still have like ethical agriculture.
totally. I mean, we sacrificed it all for convenience. Right? We had
But
to go faster. We had to
it's
like
not even convenient.
had to, but like the drive was to grow faster. Right? It's way, way faster to drill a hole in the ground and pump oil out of it and turn it into oil products and get energy from that versus putting up a windmill, for example. I mean, that's an easy example of like, it's just much more convenient. It's more profitable. There's more things. So it's like I say, the transaction with the planet isn't fair at all.
We make up our own rules. Do
Well,
people not realize that? Like, do we make up money? So, like, what do you mean it's not profitable? If you make it It's just a standard, all right? Like, hey, I don't fucking care how you do it, but it's affordable and manageable, and you're putting solar power. You're building the houses anyway. You're building the buildings anyway. You're doing all this stuff fucking anyway. So it's not faster. It's not more efficient. It's not anything. It's just it's weird. It's confusion. It's a clusterfuck. It's a knot, and it doesn't make any sense on any level. We're not structured to thrive. We're not structured to last.
I mean, that's the other thing that we try to do in the work that I'm doing. It's like we live under a bunch of systems that are failing, right? And to me, you're describing
Everything's failing.
like, and it's the systems, right? The systems have been leveraged to make a few people rich and keep a middle class doing what they do, but with small opportunities to get to the next class and these other things. But these systems aren't designed to support us long term, especially in this like human transition. I feel like we're all in. Technology has got the largest seat at the table it's ever had, right? We've even like created a brand new, completely autonomous agent, right? That can have a seat at the table. And so like we're moving away from the patriarchy too, right? Like that's all happening. And so how do our systems evolve when we're not letting them evolve? Like
Well, they have to collapse, so, usually once we're
right,
in the
right.
collapse,
Like
which is this,
well,
I hate a slow collapse, like, just
totally.
fucking get it over with.
And like the shit part is there's nothing to move it into, right? We haven't designed a healthcare system to migrate. We haven't designed a housing system or a food system or these like big umbrella type things to move into and out of the next one. And no one really like, there's not really like the powers that be aren't motivated to move to a new system, right? The decision makers aren't motivated to move to a new system because they've been leveraging the old system for so long. And now they've developed some generational wealth and they're like, oh, fuck that. I'm not moving to a new system. I'm
Well
monopolizing this system. Why the fuck would I want to move out of it? You know?
Well, yeah, but that if they also like that's like the tight grip on the rope, you're gonna get the burn anyway. You are not stronger than those forces. So like you holding on to is only hurting you. Again, lessons of like letting go, like that's a deep thing. And you can see how people, society, all of it not letting go, generations not letting go. It's like the dying king holding onto his crown instead of educating his son how to be a mature leader. Like I believe in retirement. No one's retiring. I mean, metaphorically speaking, like they haven't allowed people to retire, but it's because other people aren't retiring, so then other people can't retire. It's flawed everywhere.
Oh yeah, like go. I mean, like take a look at our Senate and our House of Representatives at the federal level. Like you talk about not retiring.
Well, yeah, but
Good.
that's a whole other thing. I mean, they haven't
I mean,
retired, but even the young people that are joining in, they're not like any better. They have a mask and a facade of like, oh, well, I'm going to speak to the youth, but really not actually do anything. Like they're in bed with them.
I'm going to go to participate.
They're,
It's not.
huh?
They're not going in to disrupt the system. They're going in to participate in the system.
Well, yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, I hate everybody. Nobody is actually like trying in the government forces of things. Like, there's this illusion of change, but there's an illusion of choice. Like, that's why I get really upset when people pick sides. It's like there's not even a side. I mean, it's us versus them. Like, that's the side. So you're choosing their side instead of choosing your own side. It's like rooting for the other team to win. It's like people who bet against themselves, like they intentionally lose fights and then like have a bet on themselves to get a bunch of money. Like that's selling your soul, you fucking losers. That's what that fucking means. You're selling your soul, you're exploiting yourself
Right.
for other people, and then if you refuse to do that, you're a bitch.
Not in the club, at least. Right.
Well, yeah, or you're exiled, because if you're in the club and if you're in the government and you like sell your soul, right? And you do what they do and like you protect that, then like you're in the club. If you don't, you're usually assassinated. If you start to figure things out, or if you start to feel weird in your tummy about like what it is you're doing, some people have a turn of conscience, like, and they're like, oh, I thought this was like whatever the situation is, but it's just all gotten too corrupt that like it needs to implode on itself. But how do we get out of here? I think
Voting?
is just allowing people. I don't think it's voting. Did you say voting?
No, no, no. I said imploding on itself sounds terrible
Oh,
because there's nothing to move into, and it's not like democracy needs to implode. It's like this corrupt version that we've been living in for such a long time needs to like have a complete fucking overhaul, right? We need to root out some things and like migrate to some systems that actually work and build some new systems to migrate to. Other like, and not necessarily a new political system per se, right? We don't need to like break down democracy where people can vote and they have some representation and like it's a government by the people. But like the system hasn't evolved along with our society, so it's become more corrupt, right? The powers that be haven't put more checks and balances on government as we've evolved. They've kind of eliminated more or circumvented more. And so there's a ruling class, and then there's the rest of us at this point. And so we need to fix that. And I don't know how we fix that aside from, hey, here's a system that we can like say, okay, this one's imploding. We need to migrate to this. It's the same with healthcare, right? If we could plant a seed with a new system that works better and get that to grow enough to say, hey, here's the example of the new system. And in the world we live in with the technology we have, that can spread. And pretty soon, the right business decisions will just migrate to the new system and we can get rid of the old one.
Well, yeah, it's like it's where you put your money. That's why, like, I mean, as slightly terrifying as it can be, I know I've had different arguments with people, but like that's why you see this huge like spiritual movement and like holistic movement. And I mean, people are fucking themselves up with herbs because they're not actually getting solid education, and there's a lot of corruption in like the essential oils. And like, I mean, I've witnessed it all. Like you see the system that's failed, so you look for a new system, and then you find the old system in these supposed new systems, but they're also ancient medicine that's been corrupted. And instead of evolving the ancient medicine, again, the wisdom, like, and to do something better, like, again, connect with nature. Like, I firmly believe that Mother Nature has provided us with everything that we actually need. And that doesn't mean we can't invent things. I think we're naturally innovative, creative beings. But I think it's, again, proper education and truth, and not, I mean, I'm pretty against regulation. So I think it's like reeling certain things in. Like there's a lot of laws, right? That shouldn't exist at all. Like the fact that they're like, it's a loophole. And here's the thing, it's because it's rules for thee, not for me. And if you have a certain amount of money, you can get out of it. If I had $10,000, I wouldn't have a gun charge. If I didn't have all my tattoos and looked a certain fucking way, and if I was somebody fucking special when I was in my car accident, that fucking loser sheriff wouldn't have arrested me on the fucking gurney. But guess what? I was this poor little working class white girl who was going to Detroit during a very intense time for kids. I was working with children. And one of my kids, their house, their neighbors got shot up. This is a very unsettling time. I'm realizing how dangerous some of these neighborhoods are. They were fairly safe for a while because things were fairly calm in society. Society started to really unrest with like Trump getting crazier in like 2020, like really unsettled a lot of people. Things were crazy. I had my gun for protection, no other reason. But because it technically wasn't stored properly in an open carry state, but it was in my vehicle, all of this stupid stuff. It's like, you need to reel that in, and you also need to not attack, like, my situation. A prosecutor, a judge, anyone would have looked at me and been like, hey, it may not have been smart to store it that way, but we also understand someone T-boned you, and the only reason we even saw your gun is because the car accident dislodged it from where you had it. And yes, thankfully, you know, the safety was on and you have like some gun knowledge. You're not totally dumb, but I still don't think it was safe for you to have it under your seat. And I was like, well, the only reason I had it under my seat is because I spent days practicing where the best location in my car would be for me to have as quick of fucking access as possible, because a man held my fucking car door open until I gave him my phone number, and I'm parked parallel parking, and I can't just put my car in drive and go, and I'm not going to run him over because I don't want to get a fucking like assault or murder charge because I don't know what this fucking man's going to do to me.
Totally.
And so anyway, you're not like looking at me as a woman or anything at all in my whole situation, but instead you're going to give me a 5-year fucking felony and I should be grateful I got a year probation and a misdemeanor. Go fuck yourself. I shouldn't have fucking anything on my fucking record. This is not something anyone like me or anyone should, like, in that situation, should have fucking dealt with. So I think we really need to reel in a lot of laws, and we need to go back to the fundamentals. Like, I mean, I could get on some pretty controversial opinions when it comes to, like, I mean, I'm rewatching The Sopranos, and Chad and I are having in-depth the conversation about organized crime and this freedom and how do we have these social agreements. I was like, as long as innocents and civilians are not being hurt, you and your little tribes do whatever the fuck you want, but you have to keep it in-house. That's like my general opinion. Like, if you sign up to be this person, you accept the role that you chose for yourself, stand on your decisions. I'm not choosing to be in the mafia. I'm not choosing to be part of the cartel or the government or fucking anything. What am I choosing to do? My life is being an artist and I'm having fun. I'm yapping on the internet with my dad. And I don't know who the fuck I am and why I think any of the way that I think, but I think a big part of healing society and civilization is allowing this acceptance of free will and letting people choose the life that they want to choose for themselves. And at the end of the day, if you're not abusing someone and innocent civilians aren't like collateral, if people are collateral to your internal affairs, then maybe I'm going to throw you in jail or something. Like, it depends. Again, there's so many insert scenario. But people deny the specifications of like how things need to be managed, and instead they generalize it too much. But we also need pretty generalized rules, so that way we can assess scenarios, because we're not assessing scenarios. We're overly generalizing the individual person. And does that make sense? Because it sounds contradicting.
I mean, to me, like all of those examples, and the real big one is like a huge example of a law enforcement system that isn't working, right? Or it's working for some, but it's really fucking not working for any. Like, or it's really not working for a whole bunch of motherfuckers. Like, there's a book called Chasing the Scream, which, if anybody hears me say this,
I think it's on my to-read list. I think you sent that to me.
It should be on your to-read list, and it should be on everybody's to-read list, right? But what it really gets into, more or less, is around drug use, addicts, the war on drugs, and how we as a society have tried to control drugs. But the example I want to make is, like, we established laws and we decided on a way to enforce those laws that really was like quota based, right? We've got to justify the reason we've made these laws, just the same reason why we've got to justify a gun law in the city of Detroit, right? We're going to enforce it in the worst way on a young woman who was in a car accident. In the same way, we're going to enforce this drug law on a person who's on the street using drugs, right? Where it's like the amount of impact on that human being, does that justify having the law, or should we do it a bit differently? Or like, why, like, for drugs is an easy one. Like, we do need gun laws, right? And I think people running around with guns at will could be pretty fucking challenging, and we'd probably have a lot of problems, especially in our society and like our really terrible state of like mental wellness that we can't seem to get a hold on. But why do we enforce it the way we enforce it? But to me, it's like the quota-based system that we enforce laws under, right? Another example of we need to change how we change this.
Well, yeah. So, like, you talk about guns. Okay, my honest, like, true take is I don't think weapons outside of, like, hunting, like, and I don't even mean, like, hunting, I don't even believe hunting guns. Like, I don't think weapons generally should exist, but I'm not naive. Like, my naive utopian take is that we don't have anything that could hurt anything. We only have bows and arrows for hunting appropriately, like, deeply, like, indigenous practice of weaponry. I do understand self-defense, but I also feel like if you're gonna fucking take a life, you gotta do it with your fist. Like, own it. Like, you have, like, you know what I mean?
Do it the hard way.
Yeah, no, don't be a pussy. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. If you're gonna kill somebody, you better do it the hard way, right?
No,
I love it though. Right?
Yeah, but it's used to mean something to take a life, and now it's way too fucking simple. I told you about Memphis, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like, I was fucking like 100 feet away from a 17-year-old who shot another 17-year-old 4 times in the face over like girl high school drama. Like, I'm sorry, but you felt confident enough to go up to another human being over something so small at such a young age and point blank shoot them. That is like, to me, I'm like, it used to mean something. People do not have respect for life anymore, which goes back to my fucking mouse.
I mean,
racism rant. But like, that to me, like, so that's where I'm like, I don't think those should exist. But because they do exist, why and this is a controversial take, because especially for people who are anti-gun, like, I don't believe in, like, the regulation as far as, like, keeping it away from citizens, and I think that children should have gun courses and, like, education based, and then before you like, just like you graduate high school, you should be able to know how to handle a weapon. Now, you get to choose if you partake in a weapon or not, but you have the education, and everyone is trained. One, so everyone has a realm of self-defense. I firmly believe it should be in our core of education that everyone knows how to defend themselves. I think everyone should know how to be safe with a weapon and know all the ins and outs of it, even if you're afraid of it. Even if you never want to have a gun ever again in your fucking life, you don't want to put one in your house, you don't, whatever, I don't care. You don't have to do that. Do I think you should know how to use one? Do I think you should understand how they work? Absolutely. Why? Because you don't want to be ignorant in a situation where you wish you would have. Like, I hate how ignorant I am. There's not enough time. I feel like my whole education system taught me things that didn't really fucking matter. Some things that mattered, most things that didn't. And instead, why wasn't I in a fucking self-defense safety course with a fucking gun? Like, I firmly believe in our right to bear arms, but like, why doesn't everyone have this knowledge or education?
We agree. It's like, okay, we're going to have this right to bear arms, but we're not going to practice it responsibly. Like, I completely agree. Like, I feel like that would be very helpful, right? To say, okay, like, there's this mandatory education that everybody really needs. I mean, and there's a number of examples of that, but for like the sake of this, right? Yeah, sure, totally. But I mean, underlying that is like this really pretty like awful state of mental health that we're all sort of trying to navigate, right? Like every single one of us, like to some varying degree, right? And I think that like unregulated weapons in the hands of everybody would be pretty challenging in the current state.
Well, I think just like you renew your driver's license or you have
Well, yeah,
healthcare professionals assess if you can still manage a vehicle, like, I think that they like, but what I worry about with certain laws is just, I mean, because it's been done to women. They deem you a certain diagnosis, and then they say, oh, you can't hold a weapon, you're mentally ill, we'll burn you at the stake. So like, that's where like the regulation situation, I feel like we have to have a like that, because you can't trust experts anymore. COVID proved us that there are experts who can be bought and bribed and a part of this corrupt system. So how do we trust assessors? Like, because it's real easy to demonize somebody. It's real easy to paint a picture of someone being someone or something that they're not. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't genuine red flag concerns. There are people who could have been stopped before they committed horrific crimes, and people just did the bystander effect and they didn't do anything about it. But at the same time, with too tight of regulations, we run into witchcraft trial situations.
I mean,
And so how do we come together as a society to agree not to do that? Joe Rogan will say we're going to evolve to like telepathically understand intention, which would be real fucking cool.
probably not.
I don't know if I'm patient enough to wait for that. That's probably 500 years from now.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, I think to me, like, it's another example of a system that needs to be fixed, right? Like, gun control laws are an election issue every fucking cycle for everybody, just the same as immigration laws. Like, it's an election issue every fucking cycle. And so the people that are wanting to be elected are literally decentivized to actually solve the problem, right? They need to maintain these election issues because they get elected on these issues one way or the other. And
So
so,
we're just not moving past the problem. We're just
no, like,
we're
we're
regurgitating problems.
definitely not, in my opinion, right? Like, there's real intention behind it. That there's no incentive at a minimum.
Just like cancer,
Well,
like cancer's
and
been cured, but
I mean, yes and no, like cancer, but I think like when it comes to government and a ruling class, right, they've got to justify their jobs too. And so it's like, why would they fix or why would they do better with the Second Amendment and gun control laws? It's an election issue. It's the same with immigration. Why would they actually fix probably a very straightforward thing? Like, I'm sure that if you took a random sampling of 10,000 people in the US, we could probably come up with some pretty fucking good solutions to gun control and immigration, for example. Like, it probably really wouldn't be that challenging. We could probably get like 80% of people to go, yeah, that makes really fucking good sense. But instead, we have a ruling class that leverages these issues every 4 years. So why the fuck change them? Why actually make meaningful changes to these things? And it's another example of a system that just needs to be changed, needs to be adjusted, needs to be able to do something better, right? We're smarter than this. What the
Was
fuck are we
everything is
doing?
just greed?
We're fucking smarter than this.
That's I guess so, like, everything's just rooted back to greed. But that sounds see,
Fucking
that's why I like, to me, it sounds boring because like, if you solve the problem, then what are you gonna do? It's like, "Well, I'm gonna go have some fun."
I mean,
Like,
well, uh,
like, I don't get why like, here's the thing, the less problems we have, the more time we have to have some fun. Like, that's what I don't get. Like, why are people so it's like you get to, like, go have fun, but you're gonna create all these problems so no one else can go have fun because you wanna only have fun? Like, you're the only person who wants to go have like, if ever all these problems are solved, what are we doing? People are engaging in their hobbies more. People are creating more art. People are traveling more. People are having fun. They're talking to people. They're going to restaurants. Like the economy is booming. Everyone's out and about. We're being butterflies. We're social. And then in the winter, we all agree, like, we don't have to go to work if it's fucking 16 inches of snow. The fact that I got somewhat fired over that fucking pisses me the fuck off. Because, like, why is it okay for you to sit in your mansion and not go to work, but I have to go to work? I absolutely fucking think not. Why isn't everybody in, like, a rhythm of something and all of these problems that no one has to worry about them? Why are you, like, I don't get the control of the problem and then to keep the problem. It's just like Jim, when Jim had to fucking ruin everything. Like, why do you have to? Everything's going fine. Why do you have to ruin something and be a jerk about it, or just again keep the problem going? Like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't compute to any level. That's where
politicians,
I start to really crash out.
politicians have to justify their existence, right? The
Is it
same.
just a power play?
I mean, I don't think it's a power play necessarily. I think that there's like a certain profile of person that says, you know what? I want to make rules that people have to follow. I want to make laws. I want to be in this ruling class. That's something that, like, there's humans that are drawn to that, right? Like, they were probably the person that ran for student president, student body president at your high school, right? Not to say anything bad about those people at all, but there's a profile of person that wants to be in that class, that wants to lead, that wants to be wear those titles. And so they have to justify their existence, right? They're like, okay, this is meaningful. And I'm going to try to say I'm going to fix this problem and I'm going to address this and address that. But there's not really any incentive for that system to fix the problem because of
Well,
because of the way our process, because of our election cycles.
but it's integrity. It's leading with virtue. Like, here's the thing: be a leader. I'm all for people being leaders. Like people, if you're a leader, if your role, your purpose in life is one, if that's your purpose in life, you don't have a good imagination. That is like the lowest of the low to rule over people. There's so much you can experience. Like, personally don't understand. Like, I would love to be a queen because you want to know what my rule would be? If I was an empress, if I was a dictator, my rule would be fuck off. Don't like
Yeah, do your thing.
like live your life just like you reap what you sow, you suffer your consequences, like be intentional. Like I mean, I'd have wisdom I would share, but like I don't like, I told Chad yesterday, I got so frustrated with Chad because he asked me another fucking question. I was like, dude, I don't fucking micromanage people. Like I just got so snappy with him because he's a Capricorn. He's just an authoritative force and he likes things done and he checks in. I trust people and with you at the beginning. If you need me, you will come to me. Otherwise, like, I'm going to come at the end of the project and then I'm just going to grade you. So it's like, well, if you needed help, you could have like asked for it and I would have given it to you, but you didn't ask for help. So you get a C, or whatever the situation is. But like I give people the chance to figure it out for themselves. And just because like you failed or just because you got a C doesn't mean you can't do better next time. It's just like, depending on how bad you fuck up in life, depends on like what your consequences are going to be. So like, make good choices and don't bother me. I want to go swimming. I want to go eat at this restaurant. I want to go create this candle. I want to go shopping. I want to live. Then that's not just all the things of like living life. Like, I want to spend time with my dogs. I want to go for a walk. I want to, see a waterfall. Like, I want to take a nap in a hammock. Like, I have a very lazy way of living. I think that sounds really peaceful to me because it's just enjoying nature. It's being cozy and there's it's really just relaxed. Like, so that's what I call a simple life. Like, I get to go do things. I get to experience what the world has to offer. So the less problems there are, the more you get to experience the world has to offer. And if I was a leader, I would want more people to do that for themselves. And like, if we set up a system that we have humans who know who they are, like, hey, this is your biology. Babies don't come from storks. In fact, you have sex, and it's kind of a scary thing, but it's not a scary thing if you learn about it at a young age. But when you live 10 years of your life thinking that this is how babies are made, and then all of a sudden someone tells you that you have to have sex to have a baby, and then you're like, a man does what to me? And then you kind of like, it freaks you out because you lived 10 years of your whole life thinking it was a completely different way. And I feel like it wouldn't have been as traumatizing to my like developmenting brain if I was just not lied to, because like people are uncomfortable with all of these topics. And we need to quit being uncomfortable telling people the truth. We need to quit being uncomfortable about being human. And that includes sexuality and all of these kind of weird things that humans do that we seem to not care if animals do.
There's all of these like subjective realities that we've applied to ourselves, right? That we've just kind of made up, right? These are just rules and these are things that exist only because we exist. And navigating those things, like per society, per culture, per tribe, like is super fucking challenging. And it causes all kinds of extra problems, right? Right. I back to like the politician example, like someone has to decide what is fucking up. Someone has to define like this is what it means when you've done wrong. Someone has to define, and here's the consequences. Like we do need some level of bureaucracy. Like we won't we wouldn't be able to exist without it simply because we all have to decide on our societal rules. I just
Well, it's not prison.
well no, it's not prison, but like if there's no
Well, I feel like
societal
it's
rules, it's
obvious.
just chaos.
But I think fucking up is like obvious. You know what fucking up is? Fucking up is abusing somebody.
Sure.
And I mean, no, here's the thing. Like, is hurting someone subjective? Yeah, hurting your feelings could be subjective, and that could take a while to unpack. Abuse is real blatant. Murder is very obvious. Now, here's the thing. Murder and self-defense, you have to have an investigation. I wholeheartedly believe in, like, investigating self-defense claims and all of the above. But again, if we have a culture and a society that it means something to take a life, you can kind of dissect that. And then, you know, not to get too like shamanistic about it, but there used to be like people who would you used to guide people through their emotions, and now people are like oppressing their emotions more. They're not acknowledging them, especially men, which is why they come out the way that they come out, because it's a volcano. They're suppressed, 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 and then kaboom, it's a pressure cooker. Are under a pressure cooker, which then pressure cookers women. It boils them up. So then we're all just like pressure cookering each other because like women can only express emotion in a certain way, and then men can only express emotion in a certain way. But then there's all these other stereotypes that are applied to it, and it's like we have picked apart. We're just humans. I'm just a human. Like at the end of the day, it's not because I'm a woman. It's not because I'm white. It's not because I'm Sarah. It's not because of anything. It's because I'm a human being with this thing and a nervous system and a heart and whatever other like stardust that created the flesh suit on top of whatever it is in my soul and everyone else's soul. But there is a foundation of relativity in all of us because we're all the same species. We have a way of communicating. There's reasons why we have categories of things. So why are we denying? I just feel like we're denying the humanity within everything, everywhere. And we're turning people into machines. And that's the evolution of like AI, is it's not this like we actually create a robot. We become the robots. I think it's a metaphor of what happens when you kill the soul.
I mean, and I would say like as a society, we're probably doing a pretty good job, right, of killing the soul, right?
People, yeah.
Yeah, our society is demanding more and more. Our economy is demanding more and more of our participation. Like we're all giving more and more to our jobs and less to ourselves. And yeah, like as far as killing the soul is concerned, like we're doing a pretty good job of it. Right. I actually feel like that's why we're seeing such a big disruption, right? Like we are seeing like society saying, hey, wait a fucking second. Like this isn't working out for me. And we see some places that are like saying, okay, well, like maybe we need to adjust the bureaucracy to fit our current times, but it's happening really, really slowly. And there's going to be a bunch.
Well, yeah, because people are holding on to the rope for dear life.
Well, yeah. Right. I mean, like a very micro example, like the state of Washington is considering a law to go to a 32-hour work week rather than a 40-hour work week. right? There's an example of some bureaucratic change that I think is actually really fucking necessary, right? We're accomplishing more. Rob is accomplishing more in 40 hours than Rob's grandfather accomplished in 40 hours by far, right? My wages are probably a little bit better than his relative to what I could buy with that money, but
Mm.
like there's a big gap in value because I'm more productive because I have more tools and I'm doing more things and I'm just more efficient and more effective, right? So something should evolve and our bureaucracy should evolve. It just happens way, way too fucking slow. Way too
Well,
fucking.
but it's also, but to me, it seems like there's like a jealousy. Like there used to be this like obvious like gap in luxury, I guess, and now like luxury is becoming a standard or it's more accessible because we have more tools. So then more people are free. More people are free to do what they want if we channel tools in the right way. Because like even I would argue a 32-hour work week to a company that isn't something you're like passionate and purposeful about is still an enslavement. I think that there should be freedom in people choosing what that 32-hour work week is.
It's tough.
So if it's still for a court, yeah, but it's so like anyway, instead they're not moving it faster. They're like, well, it's carrot stick, and it's also like the negotiation line of like, well, this is what the elite. It's like, okay, like you take it. What is the expression? You give an inch, they take a mile or whatever. Like they're still not being fair in any of it. And yes, like I'm not gonna give them praise for breadcrumbs. I'm not gonna do
Yeah.
it. Like,
Yeah.
and so it's like, yeah, it's a slow change. It's a positive change. Are we going in the right direction? Like, I guess like clap for small wins, but still go fuck yourself. Like, absolutely not. Like
I hear
more like
fuck
we are
right.
it's 2026. Like, absolutely fucking not.
Oh, quit throwing us scraps, right? Like yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I was really just trying to make an example of like,
No, I know. Not, I wasn't attacking you. I'm
no, no,
just
yeah.
I get real irritated.
I do too, right? I mean, there's a lot of examples where like we, the public, the folks, like not to like over politicize it, right? Is like take the like the we the people, the citizens of this country route, but like there's so many examples of like the non-ruling class just getting thrown scraps, right? And typically we're fighting over those fucking scraps. And this is a good enough scrap, is it a bad enough scrap? You know what I mean? It's just kind of bullshit. And I get really, really fucking I'm over it too. I think that like not to yeah, not to be defensive, but to like clarify just as like this micro example of how bureaucracy has to change. Like, we need it and it has to be able to evolve. But I think it needs to be able to evolve a bit more quickly. And democracy doesn't evolve quickly, which like why can't we do some modifications, right? Why can't we modify this system? We have tools, we have technology. They can do really fucking cool things, right? But yet we're still sort of stuck in this like, oh, I get to fucking cast my toothpick into a bonfire every 4 years, right? It's just kind of this like horse shit, super fucking 250-year-old method of evolving our bureaucracy. Like, let's do this faster. We can.
Well, but I would also argue it has to do with like emotional well-being and lack of emotional intelligence, which could be where humanity is either evolving or reconnecting. I kind of have a lot of different theories about the emotional side of humanity, but we're not focusing on overall emotional well-being. Like people could say that psychopaths or sociopaths have taken over, narcissists have taken over like society or whatever. But with just the general advancement of psychology and how we understand the human mind and consciousness and all of these things, I think it's intentionally slow. I think like it's because of the emotional reaction to this. And I don't know fully where it comes from, but there is like a what like Nietzsche was calling the slave mentality or the herd mentality, or these like as soon as people get like a little bit of power, they become the same monster that they fought against. So like the slaves will rebel in Nietzsche's like uh what the fuck article, narrative, whatever, the thing that I read that he was talking about. He's like, the slaves, they like, or Animal Farm, just like the pigs became the humans. And so you can't become the monster that you're trying to fight, but people do that. Why? Because they don't heal. They don't deconstruct and they're not aware of their emotions. And like, here's the thing. Do I feel the worst side of human emotions? Yes. Have I always acted perfectly? No. Have I ever really tried to dictate somebody's life and take away their livelihood? No. So I don't fully understand this, like, when it comes to, like, classism and this power of, I guess, like, where I try to, like, they almost seem inhuman in a sense because and that's where you get into other conspiracies about, like, who's taking over the world or whatever, but it's either mass, like, extreme emotions or non-emotion. So there's either, like, a complete detachment to humanity, empathy, emotion, and all these other potential, like, diagnoses of personality disorders, or it's a heightened sense of anger, wrath, and all of these things because no one's really healing what could be in like the genetic code. So it could be like an ancestral healing, like, hey, your ancestors had to do all of this to get this, so you're holding on to it for dear life and you're defending it, but you're not realizing you don't have to defend it. In fact, you're self-sabotaging even your own growth because eventually the slaves will revolt and they will take you down, just like your family, your ancestors took the other slave owners down. Like it's a repetitive cycle. So how do we break the cycle? Well, once you get to a certain standard of freedom, your goal should be to heal yourself, to deconstruct, and then free more people. The more people you free, the more abundant you will be.
And I'm totally with you, like on this like parallel track, like for me anyway, like the thing that you're talking about is this like spiritual evolution, right? Like, or emotional evolution, or whatever that thing that being inside of us needs to evolve as well, right? And I would argue at the same time, as that's evolving, and I think slowly that is too, but the system has to evolve too. And to me, the systems aren't evolving as fast as we're emotionally evolving collectively, right? The system's staying the same, and we're emotionally becoming more aware of like how harmful these things are and how, wait, this doesn't actually fit. I'm way more out of balance now than I was 15 years ago because of, right? And to me, it's the system's not evolving. In fact, the system is getting worse and wealth is getting worse. It's easier to see the problems. And so our frustration levels are higher. So both have to do it in parallel. Because even if we evolve emotionally, like we still have this system, this
Wait,
these this ecosystem of systems, right? This network of systems that we're all trying to navigate and operate in that hasn't evolved, right? Or the mechanisms within it won't let it evolve, or the powers, the people who have the power don't want it to evolve because they're leveraging it for their own good. And so we've got to do two things at the same time. We've got to be able to modify the systems and not throw them out because like I think you get animal farm whenever you throw out the system, whenever you just say, okay, politicians, we're going to knock you out. Here's some new humans. Well, those new humans are the pigs, and the same thing happens over again. Like the real thing to me is like we have to have a system that can be modified, that can be changed. And we do, it's just really, really slow, especially when you have two like dichotomies of like fighting against each other and they're not incentivized to evolve the system. And so that's part of what needs to be fixed, in my opinion. So we can evolve emotionally and spiritually and evolve our bureaucracy at the same pace.
this reminds me of The Sopranos again.
Right?
Well, because like the psychologist, she had like her big ethical turmoil is it should she treat Tony Soprano, and then like ultimately she chooses not to because she's making him a better sociopath, which I argue against like some of those interpretations. I have very complex feelings about Tony Soprano. I think everybody does. He's a really complex character.
Oh.
Um and I like character analysis and breakdowns, but I would argue so more so in like billions billions. We've talked right?
Mhm.
The billionaires. I don't think Tony Soprano's situation, I think she was actually like helping him. I think there was like a level of healing. You saw growth and he was becoming a better mob boss, but under this like branch of organized crime or freedom, I don't necessarily agree with how, they beat up like innocent civilians and all that stuff, but like the inner workings of them. He's becoming a better leader. Like he's a little bit more empathetic. Like he's evolving the ways of the mafia in the show, right? And it is a slow progress, but also it's because he's kind of the only one doing it. When you're doing it by yourself, it's slow. So if he had more people, if like he could have like group therapy with the mob, then maybe they would like operate really cool. But you see that in billions, right? Which is then evolved on like a really collective scale where you kind of see the corruption of business, and like they highlighted a lot in that show. But it goes to like Mike Prince, like the psychologist, like he was weaponizing psychology for this dictatorship. Essentially, it was, I think, what his character was supposed to represent. So how do you, I guess, like with the evolution of everything, how do you make sure people aren't weaponizing it? And then I think that goes into more of that. It has to go into a social agreement and a social structure. Like there's really nothing you can, when it comes to free will, there's only so much you can control, and that's the illusion of control. So that's where I guess as a society you have to come together when things happen. And I think that's kind of a part of the just experience of life. Like there's just, unfortunately, sometimes things have to just be like they just are, and you can't control someone's bad intentions. And the more you try to control those bad intentions is usually how you end up victimizing yourself, which is the martyr, which is what I think Chuck represents in the show.
Probably. Right.
So like life is difficult, I guess, is my conclusion.
Yeah. I mean, it's complex, right? How do we navigate? I mean, I tell myself that all the time, right? And like we've talked about my situation, right? And I'm like in the startup world and trying to do these things, these bigger things, these things are meaningful, right? All balanced with, okay, I got to pay the fucking bills too, right? Okay, I live in this place. And it's like, okay, well, the startup's not working. This great idea or this evolution of the trying to implement or plant seeds for a new system isn't working out. Okay, so shit, I need to do some money. So I got to go participate in the other thing. And we're all just trying to navigate this thing to try to build this like harmonious life that you describe, right? And I think that for me, like there has to be this balance of, okay, like I do want to help evolve our systems. And at the same time, like I do want to like just go to the mountains and, you know, still work and like stand at the summit. But like I have to navigate that balance, right? And that fucking like really fucking sucks sometimes.
Well, so that's where I like that's why I bring up astrology into a lot of things. So like a shift of perspective for your situation would be like you try your startup, a brilliant idea, it served its purpose. Maybe it's not working out. Maybe your participation, your job, your role, your season, your part, your service is done. You did your job, and now your soul is ready for the next job. And then you talk about the mountains and like your true passion, your true heart, your true soul. And do I understand the balance of that? But yeah, but Virgo, you're a Virgo. So you need to find the balance, which is what Amanda, or mom, being Libra, she it kind of helps you discern that balance. That's why like Libras are really, they're known for being indecisive, but they're not indecisive. They have to weigh it out, and they weigh it out by externally processing. And so it's like, well, let's like feel into this, and then like let's feel into that. And how does the scale center? So she, as your wife and your divine counterpart, mirrors that discernment within how you can be of service within yourself. So that's where like I talk all the dreamy things about, I mean, people need people to teach them how to survive in the wilderness. Like that's a lost skill. So when I go back to all my other rants throughout this whole podcast that we've been talking, people having the free will to choose themselves and to fit in their role. We all know, I feel like as children, I mean, as dreamy as you can get, I know like maybe kids can be somewhat indecisive, but at a point in childhood, a lot of children, most children without influence, know who they are and what they're supposed to do in life. We all feel it. We all feel that purpose in our life. And then I think society and parents, for regardless of their good intentions and all the above, I think we get fucked up. Something has to ruin it. There's a kink in the hose, whatever the situation is. It could be part of the video game, could be just the roll of the dice. Who knows why it happens? But sometimes we get thrown off our course, or maybe that whole side quest is bringing us to all the wisdom that we need to calculate to get back to that inner child core root of the purpose that we know we're meant to do. I firmly believe everything that I went through has led me to where I'm supposed to be now. But as I wear my very Brittany hat, I'm reminded of 5 and 6-year-old Sarah, who always knew that she had this like star, like, feminine persona within a spiritual teaching. Like, I've told those stories of all of like these nuggets of things that led me where I am. My OT career gave me a sense of education that allowed me in my natural intelligence something to go. So even though I was stunted and limited, I'm not, because I'm abundant in myself. So when I was just given a seed, I was able to turn it into a fucking forest. Because, like, and so there's the appreciation for it. So anyway, so back to you and your Virgo-ness. When we're in society, a lot of people are in service. They're doing their duty and they're wearing it with a pride of their badge of honor, you know, like it's all the things that you can see mirrored in the mirrored in the military all the time. And it's not really being of service, you're being in service. It's a martyrdom, which is a victim mentality, which is the shadow side of Virgo, and the axis of Pisces, which is the shadow of Pisces, because they're sister signs and all this other like astrology stuff that we could go into. But anyway, so that's why you want to nurture that and heal that, and not so much make decisions in your virtue to participate because of your security and your livelihood, especially earth signs. So that's your material plane, that's your house, that's all of these very real things about life. But the sacrifice, essentially, energetically, spiritually, and emotionally, well, maybe you have to do what you need to do in the moment. Maybe the startup was that doing what I had to do in the moment to build certain skills. My OT career, doing what I had to do in the moment to build skills. But I reached a certain point, and it might have been acidly induced, but I reached a certain point where I was like, I'm done here and I'm ready to do this. And I was ready to do it. Every time I backtracked and kind of like teeter-tottered in my scales over the last 3 years, in my Pisces Saturn return, Pisces symbolism again, shadow side, martyring myself, it kind of seemed like I had to do what I had to do in college, which was, well, oh, it's the same story, right? I had to break the story of, well, I am a victim and I worked 5 jobs and I got myself through school because my birth mom would not fucking help me, and I lived in this really intense life and I just had to escape. That's a lot of Piscean theme there. Well, now we come to the return where I'm breaking all those cycles. What am I not doing? I'm making a stand, and then it's like, no, I'm not going to break my back and work all these meaningless jobs that are actually just going to drain my energy. And it might get me money in the moment, but it's not get it, like it's a sacrifice on the other side. So if I had to tell my husband, we had multiple serious conversations, and he's had to deconstruct, and we've had to do this together. But I had to have a moment where I had to tell him, I have to spend as much time and energy on this and this only, and you have to trust me. And I am, me personally, I don't think necessarily everybody is, but I know myself enough. I will know when I need to throw in the towel. I'm not beneath giving up and accepting that something is a failed thing. However, I will not get to, the top stair and not open the door. I'm not going to turn around right before I'm going to walk through the fucking door, and I'm going to see what happens. If it happens to be a cliff, whatever, like, at least I did it.
Yeah, totally.
And maybe I'll fly. And you told me I was soaring. So I see it. I see the momentum building up within myself, but especially because not only did I have to externally make a stand to certain people, I had to test certain people in a way, but I had to test myself, which is why Chad, I feel like, is a really good mirror of my adversarial energy. I like when he confronts me and makes me, challenges me, because then that's like my spiritual test. He's possessed by the adversary in that moment for me to be like, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to stand up for myself, or am I going to back down? And I've been more and more and more, the more I choose myself, the more confident I get, the easier all of this stuff is. And even if it's just a few people, I am making a difference, and I am more myself. And the more I'm myself, the better I feel, the better Chad feels. My house is harmonious. It's a small little apartment, and no, it doesn't look like what everyone else wants it to fucking be, but I'm more comfortable here than anywhere I've ever been. And it's, people want to judge it by all of these, again, silly, stupid things that don't matter. And it doesn't mean I'm not headed somewhere. I've had to tell a variety of people, just because I'm poor right now doesn't mean I'm going to be poor forever. Just because I'm a seed right now doesn't mean I'm not going to be a tree. Doesn't mean I'm not going to blossom. Things take time, and I feel like you have to just honor and respect that phase of your life. But that's also through the forces of change. And so when it comes to being of service or in service, you can be in service and stay a certain size and fit into things comfortably, But at some point, is it like, well, did you grow just a little bit too big? And are you just like slightly uncomfortable? Are you ready to break free? Like, do you want to shrink back down? Well, you can't shrink back down. Once you grow, you can't shrink back down. But now you're too big. So wouldn't you just want to get bigger and bigger so that way you can actually like breathe and have some room? Or are you going to stay in this like slightly tight just to remain? Because oops, I got bigger than the people around me.
Sure, sure. And I think like if you were like presenting that question to me, and maybe you are in a certain way, I think there's a balance in figuring out those next steps, right? Like going back to the startup. Maybe I planted my seed. Um, yes and no, right? Is this a point where feel like I've given like given to this thing in the material way that I feel like is necessary? Like, no, I'm not done. There's more I need to give. There's more I need to be in service of. Uh, we're just experiencing some very fucking real challenges, and the world is full of them. And great stories wouldn't be great stories without challenges. But at the same time, there's a financial reality of like, okay, well, like to continue to be a company, we have to like have money because people have to be paid. So there's some dynamic there, but I totally get what you're saying about like being in service or of service, right? And I think that there's this big part of my psychology that's very focused on of service. And so that's the system builder in me where it's like, hey, I can like apply both, right? I can be of service to my community and the people around me or to like society by growing, developing, like like innovating these new systems for us to use and to make things better to improve the world, or at least like our economic situation, or at least the situation for most people, maybe just improve the transactions with the planet that we're making. Um, but then I have to be in service to implement those things. You know what I mean? And so it would be great to, at some point, to just be the builder and designer, and then you all can go implement this shit. Like maybe that's the ultimate goal for like the professional side of me, but then there's the personal side of me that has to make all these sacrifices. And that part sucks. And so I need to find the better balance with that. And we've talked a bit about like how I do that too. It's like, well, uh that of service part of Rob has to say, no, like I can't do that. And I hope you respect that I can't do that because I have to go and balance this other part of me. And that's actually really not an easy thing to do, but it's happening ish, kind of. Whilst we're trying to figure out the other stuff.
Well, yeah, I think it's discerning again when it is you being of service, because like I would say, especially you're a generous person, you're a helpful person, you're a healing person, so you want to, expand yourself as much as possible, but then again you have to accept your limitations with where you are. You're only so big, you can only expand so far. But back to some of the other things that you've said, I think, and this is more like a spiritual faithful perspective that not everyone agrees with, and I don't mean it unempathetic to the situation, because I mean, my financial status. Like, so I'm not just talking shit because like everything's lovely here and I have this husband who's suffering. But when it comes to like finances, I have from on my path, on my practice, and the things that I've learned is that when you are of service, I don't believe it just falls in your lap. I think you have to take inspired action and you have to continue to show up every day. But when you are in alignment, when you are of service, there is just having trust that it's going to, like, the universe is going to co-create with you. It's going to align. The money is going to work out. And the reason it's not working out in the moment is because of the inner work you're supposed to be doing. It could be like interpersonal relationships to money. I know for me, I've had to really deconstruct a lot of my self-worth to money and like my appearance and a lot of things. So it's like, okay, we're going to make you as ugly and poor as we can possibly make you, which, and you have to love yourself through it anyway. And you have to go through that spiritually to gain this wisdom. And it's not necessarily you have to earn the money. I don't like that like phrasing of it, but there is still, that's the blockage is I was taught that, certain things with money have to be hard or like all of these different things. So there's different wisdoms you can take from it. Now, that doesn't mean as soon as you have the insight that everything's just going to be hunky-dory. You have to apply that to your real life, and then you just have to remind yourself that, um, you know, like while financial stability, yes, it makes things easier, there is a purpose to learning long division. And so again, appreciating why this could be in your favor. And I always like when I think of stuff like this, I remind myself of Damien Eccles, which I think I've talked to you about him before. He was on death row, falsely accused of murdering these kids when he was in high school. A satanic death ritual of murdering these kids, and it wasn't him, but it was this whole thing. But he expresses on a spiritual plane because he is a spiritual practitioner. Funny enough, plot twist, he was a teenager who was like the metalhead of the Kansas City town, like a small town. And so he was the black sheep. And so they're like, oh, these kids were killed brutally. It had to be a satanic murder and you had to have done it. And we don't care if DNA, whatever, and all of these things. It's a crazy case. It's called Paradise Lost on HBO. As a whole thing about his documentary, but he has expressed to Duncan Trussell in Midnight Gospel and on his podcast that his time on death row, being in isolation and everything that he went through, was actually good karma. Why? He had all the time in the world to like get himself in this like lifetime caught up on a spiritual plane. And I'm not saying his life is smooth. I'm not saying he hasn't had emotional things that he's had to overcome, but he constantly redirects that like that was good karma and I needed to go through that struggle. And then there goes into a lot of more left-hand path like perspectives and facing the adversary and stuff like that. So it's like you talk about all the time, choosing your hard. So yes, there is choosing your hard and there is the stress about money, and I'm not denying any of the realities of any of that, but it's reminding yourself like what would be like a chess piece. So am I sacrificing a pawn in this daily moment? Which for me, a pawn is the day job. I'm going to sacrifice the day job, this pawn, for the ultimate checkmate. Now, people may not see that move. A lot of people might see that because they don't see what I see, and they might be like, dude, that bitch is fried. She's losing the game. And then it's like, sneak attack, bitch. Like, I am unstoppable. Not always the case. Sometimes you lose, but that's also how you figure out how to make those like moves. And that's also why I feel like over the years, I have gone back and forth with a day job. But I hit another point where I'm like, especially the year of the horse, you go back to that, like my path was cleared from the wood snake. Am I going to run this path? I'm either going to run it or I'm not. And I've chosen to run it, but I've also not that it's a setup to fail or a backdoor or any of these other things that some other people might say that I'm doing to myself. But I've had a very honest discussion with myself, with my husband and everyone around me that if after this run, if it really isn't a thing, maybe it's a fun chapter in my life. I'm glad I did it. And whatever seeds I planted, bless me. And and I'll figure it out. But I'm giving it a solid fucking run, wholeheartedly, free spiritedly, you know, and I'm going to see what happens with it. And then we'll see where it leads and I'll deal with it when it comes. And I have what I want. I have my expectations. I have my desires, my intentions, my dreams. And I have an understanding of all the other possibilities, but I'm going to choose to focus on the gold and to then just enjoy my ceremony at the end of it.
Totally. Totally. And like honestly, Sarah, like you just described, like to me, like one of the big reasons why like you and I have the relationship that we do, right? Like we're just very much alike, where it's like, okay, I'm going to commit myself 100% to this thing because I believe in it, right? I'm gonna try to find my balance and find my stuff and work on me and this other stuff. And this is my life, and I'm living it like deliberately with intent. It's gonna be fucking challenging, right? Because life is, right? Like there's a great quote that says something to the effect of like you can either have a strong character or a comfortable life, but you can't have both because one is the price of the other. And so, like, it's going to be hard. Life is going to be really fucking hard. And if you want to have good character, like, it better fucking be hard. So expect it to be that way. But the cool thing about, I think you and I, and like I said, part of the reason why we have the relationship we do, because we're both sort of that way. It's like, I will give 100% to this thing or these sets of things or this purpose, this intentional thing I want to do. And navigating is really challenging, and it's really hard because I run into walls and I run into people who have a differing opinion, or like something disrupts and makes it uncomfortable, but I'm still like 100% committed all the time. And so it's for me like you talk about the astrological part of it, like that's the part that feeds me. It's like, okay, I've decided to do this, and even though it's hard right now, I'm still getting energy from the challenges. Like, yeah, I've got to like explore some other opportunities to build a safety net underneath myself because I do have some financial responsibilities and XYZ. And I'm like it costs money to do some of the things I want to do and blah, blah, blah. But nonetheless, like, the things that I get to do in the professional side of my life are the things that I want to do, and they're exciting. And I think a lot of people have like these day jobs that aren't that meaningful, or maybe they are meaningful enough to get them by. I feel like mine is really meaningful and I'm really excited to do it. Like me getting to build systems is the thing I want to do. That's honoring that 9-year-old Rob who's like, hey, this thing just doesn't work. Mom, Dad, like, can we do something different here? And they're like, no, why the fuck would we do that? It's just gonna make a mess. And I'm like, wait, but like this could be better. But nonetheless, it's a cool thing. And I love being able to bounce these things and these ideas off of you because I often feel like I do need the spiritual context. Right. And I don't always get it. Right. So it's like I apply it for sure and try to cast the same light, right? Or at least that spiritual light onto the things that I'm doing too. It's like, okay, does this make sense? It's kind of like my QA test, right? It's like, okay, let's interact with Sarah and cast the spiritual light on this thing that I'm doing. Okay, does this make sense? Let's kind of scan, is it making sense? Oh, there's something that's fucked up. Okay, well we can fix that. But you know what I mean? It's actually really fucking awesome. So
Thank you. Well, that's kind of like I thank you. That's confirmation for me because it's kind of like the point of like even behind the name of my podcast, like come drink the moon juice. Like you want to come talk to me and engage in like a spiritual conversation. And like I think that's where sometimes I've gotten into difficult conversations with people. Is it's like I'm applying spiritual practice to your situation because that is my wheelhouse. That is my what I would argue is my role. I've really sat with what I think my role is, and I think there are a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm this oracle, I'm this shaman. I don't care about titles, I don't want to be it, but I have an interest in philosophy and spirituality. My birth chart confirms this, and then like my natural interests confirm it. I have gone through every different perspective that I could possibly sit with, and this is like, I think this is just me. I think this is what makes me feel alive, and I think this is why I was born. And whatever that means to whoever, I appreciate, but I love that's why I like individuals a lot. I really don't like groups and I get really nervous about like I don't want to preach in front of groups. I don't like that. I want to connect to the person or even like a couple, like a small group is fine. Like depends on the dynamic. Like I love talking to friends who are married and like kind of not just being the mediator, I don't like that term, but just applying like, hey, what's the spiritual perspective to your marriage or your relationship? And how can I provide any of my special interests? Like just for food for thought. Again, a seed to plant for you to nurture. And if it's a dead seed, it's a dead seed. Like I tried, like, and I don't always nail it. Not everything's in, fertile soil, right? Like not every seed can thrive in every environment. So maybe I chose the wrong seed. Doesn't mean we can't try again or whatever the situation is, but I want to welcome people into my weird world or my podcast. So it's like we're having tea and I always have like a special mug with my tea. My friend Todd, he's created a bunch of different tea blends for me. This is just an Earl Grey and rose that I put together. But Todd has different blends and they're all intentionally made. But it's with having that perspective of like, yeah, let's just have a real human conversation and let's acknowledge the spiritual side of us because it's obviously been through a part of our history. And people, especially in this modern atheistic battle, you have the theists and the atheists both. It's just like the left and the right. Everyone in their extremes are all annoying as hell to me. And so I want to try to like blend that because I feel like it's a whole lesson of the Tower of Babel. And that's why the Tower of Babel fell is because we were building a stairway to heaven, which is gnosis, and the false god, the evil force, divided everybody because if humanity comes together and the world evolves, then it's too powerful for what? I don't know why that would be bad. I don't understand why that could be a bad thing to be too powerful for who. the fucking leeches that are, the vampires that are sucking the life force out of everybody. Like, however you metaphorically or conspiratorially want to apply that, that's up to you. I tend to speak metaphorically, and I try to stay anchored in reality and not actually believe in lizard people, but I'm not opposed to it because I don't know anything. No one knows what the truth is. The government's hidden all this stuff, and then we go back into the cycle of it. So we come in, we break it down, and at the end of the day, I think if people can focus in on their pursuit of happiness and quit focusing on other people, and then I think we can kind of achieve that, because people are controlling other people because they're not happy with themselves. And if I have to conform, then you have to conform. It's like, well, you don't have to conform. I'm not conforming, and you don't have to either. In fact, I want you to live your own eccentric life, which is why I like individuals. Again, it goes back to the podcast. When I do have guests, I like to deep dive into all of these components and have a personal conversation, and hopefully helping them continue to pursue their alignment of their soul path, not this constructed path. Because I mean, I was on autopilot for a very long time. I was checked out and just this like shuffled around and like, well, I'm gonna wear this not because I really want to, but because it's the best I can with what I have, or whatever the situation is, or it's expected of me. It's not expected, well, now it might be, but it's not expected of me to really wear quirky things. In fact, people in my life have dismissed it. My mom's not a very girly person. She likes the jeans and the t-shirt vibe, or whatever the situation is, right? Like, there was a lot of different realms of self-expression that were controlled. And it was because, well, my mother's was controlled. Dana was, I mean, despite all of her flaws, I really do genuinely feel for my mom. And as much as I've criticized my childhood, because you're my soul dad, Amanda's my soul mom, that could be very offensive to my mother. And I like feel for that. And I don't ever want to hurt her. That's never my intention. I think a lot of people get online, and part of their inner child healing has to do with embarrassing and kind of doing the same thing to their parents. It's like, well, see, now I'm telling the world you were shitty. I don't want to tell the world my birth mother was shitty. I have so much love for Dana because I feel for her. She was a Leo. I know her parents. I know how my grandparents treated me. I know their limitations of their generation, even with all the love in the world of Mike and Sammy. And you know how much I love my grandmother. I have so much love for my grandmother, but we had a lot of conversations. And my grandmother even acknowledged that she was like, I think how I treated your mother is why she did this to you, and I'm really sorry. My grandmother had conversations where she told me that, and that's kind of why I think she died at the time she did. Her soul work had reached a level of completion where because she acknowledged all of those things to me, and it was like a year later she died. We had all these intense conversations, and then she finally had a moment of like peace and happiness, and she was like, everyone's finally where they're meant to be. And then she died after her final Christmas with everybody, which was her favorite holiday. There's all this stuff into it. But anyway, back to like Dana, I can see where she had limited self-expression and where she was shamed into wanting to express, like, because I know I'm not my mother, and I know we are very different people. We have different aesthetics. We are also very similar. I will not deny, nor do I have shame for how my mom and I are similar. That's where I get upset with her. Is I don't understand, if we're so much alike, why. That's why, because I'll say I think she hates herself, where other people be like, oh no, she loves herself. And I was like, well, she's a complex woman, but at the end of the day, she shames me for the things that she wants.
We can do both, right? You can hate yourself and still be a bit self-centered at the same time. Like,
Right.
it's like you don't have to have one or the other, right?
And yeah, Dana's a Leo. She's a Leo sun. But also, guess what? Wheezy, Sammy's a Leo sun. Dana was born a day before Wheezy was born. I don't know if you remember that. But their birthdays were a day apart. And so you can see how Juanita, Sammy's mom, and all of her situations, how she limited her daughters. Because my grandmother she was so sassy. Absolutely. The more I got to know about my grandma, when she got to be, she was a human. She was very much herself, but I can also see where she was shamed into things. But when we would hang out, like, she took me to go see Magic Mike, both of them. And people thought that was so weird. And I was like, why? We just want to go see Channing Tatum take his shirt off. And like, what's the other guy? Joe, whatever. We just want to go see all of them.
Sure.
And it's fun. And people thought it was so weird. And I was like, no, my grandma is a human being. And it's just a fun movie. And she loved Elvis. And I could only imagine like her Catholic upbringing and being a fan of Elvis. Like, because he was controversial.
Sure.
at the time. And so you see, I can see this feminine ancestral connection of suppressing self-expression, which could be a patriarchal thing. Like, we can go deep into all the different ways that influence my family line. I see how it's influenced every woman's family line to some extent. You like Britney Spears, it bring her back up. Everything that's happened to her has been because of all of these inability to heal and deconstruct certain family curses, in a sense, and the family controlling and suppressing her. Well, if you're going to express yourself in this way, then you're going to be under a conservatorship, and we're going to control how you express it, and it's going to be money for us, your father, essentially, if you go into her. So anyway, you see how that happen in my family, and then we can bridge in Jim with some of the things that he's done. And like it repeats itself. And so to not get too lost in the story of it all, I feel for my mother and all the ways that she was oppressed and suppressed, and I understand why she might have resentment because I'm free to do it. But my dream for her would be to free herself. But I also think she is consumed by this disease that is alcoholism. And so I have, like, my mom's a more complex story. I think if she was in a healthier state of mind, it could be something more inspirational, which is what I feel like I do for Amanda. I feel like with my soul mom, I feel like the more we talk and those things, like, I didn't know she was a singer. Like, that, like, blew my mind. That was such a secret. And then to hear that, and then to hear that, and then, like, for me to say, you know, it would be really cool for me to write an article about one of your shows. I was a little nervous about saying that because I didn't want to trigger her, but she was like, I'm so excited about that. And I was like, yes, pursue your dreams. Like, we've had some really beautiful, insightful conversations, and I don't feel like it's a fuck you, I didn't get to do it, so like you have to be in healthcare and you have to do this. No, instead it's like, I think that's kind of having her weigh in on her decisions in her life. And I think because I'm a Libra North node, and I have like a Libra Chiron, that's more astrology. So like what Amanda as a Libra represents for me, and that dualism and that mirroring on a feminine plane, I feel like that's what I wanted my relationship with Dana to be. But Dana, for whatever reason, isn't unable to achieve that. And so I think part of like where the dynamic with my mother, like, people are like, oh, that's so sad. I'm like, I'm as sad as I am, I'm not all, like, super sad about it anymore. I've accepted, kind of like what I was telling you, like with your job. I think my purpose, my seeds were planted. I think my story, my cycle is either paused or over or something. It doesn't mean my door's closed with my mom. I still talk to Dana, but we talk about very specific things. It's super limited. From what I hear, she doesn't really talk about me. I've told people about some stuff going on in my life, and she hasn't reached out, but I'm not intentionally reaching out. Is it sad? Kind of. But I feel like what was what I needed from that relationship and what she needed from that relationship concluded itself. And instead of continuing to force each other to remain, we can have some peace and closure and moving forward and enjoying each other in the way that we can tolerate one another for that relation. And that's what I think about is like coexisting. I reach Jim and Dana and kind of everyone. I find a way that I can relate to them, and I honor that relation, and I try to heal within myself the other parts of it and not so much attack them. But if, you know, life is imperfect, so when sometimes conflict arises and I get into it with them, but my intention is always back to keeping the peace, not just within that relationship, but just for practice of how I want to be in the world when I face conflict. And I feel like Dana and my brothers and that whole fucking life that I lived was a great obstacle course of that, like training course. That was my boot camp. And I feel like I am ready to be awarded a nice medal.
Well, I mean, you obviously like been through it, and you've come out like doing the thing that you're doing now and being the authentic version of you, which I would say is is pretty massive. Like most people, I would say, like aren't able to be their authentic self, right? They're not comfortable in their own skin. There's all of these things that are keeping them from being who they are or who they want to be or what they feel is right. Um, and you're fairly uninhibited by that, and you are who you are. And I know that I've always preached to you that, like, be you, just be unapologetically you and who you are. The world needs more Sarah. So, as yeah,
Cheers.
as dad, right? I'm fucking beyond proud that knowing you from the time you were little, through all the stuff that you went through, And now you're doing what you want to do and you're finding meaning and fulfillment in it. That's what's important. 1000%. And it's badass. It's badass to watch you. So I'm super fucking proud all the time.
Well, thank you, because that's if I had to like have something that like I guess a goal or a message or like a general intention. I've had people ask me like, what's the point of doing this? I guess I want more people to feel comfortable being themselves. A compliment that I've received. So Stacy, she wouldn't mind me saying this, but we both have talked about difficulty in female friendships. So she's the one who's really expressed it. She's a Gemini, so she has like good communication and she really laid it out for me. But I realized I've had this compliment a few times in my life, and it's that I have a really good way, especially in person, maybe not so much on the internet, but in person, people feel genuinely and generally safe in my presence. Like they can be themselves. And if I could do anything for the world, I would want more people, as long as you're not an abusive piece of shit, to be yourself. Like if you, like seriously, if you, and that doesn't mean you can be imperfect. Like my tolerance for imperfection and morally gray beings is quite vast. And I think that is just embracing again the humanity, and that's like the shadow integration. If I'm considered a dark arts specialist with all this left-hand path, witchcraft, occultism, blah blah blahs that everything comes together with, that would be like my Jungian message. Integrate your shadow within the comfortability to be yourself and channel those shadow aspects into positive light. Like I think I told you in a voice note the other day, I've just accepted that parts of me are vain. Do I need to shame my vanity? No, I think a lot of people on some level care about their appearance and have levels of vanity, and just making sure I don't get lost in it by being mean to people who don't look a certain way, by not being mean to myself and doing all this plastic surgery and hating myself. Like I'm embracing my nose, I'm embracing my chest and all of these other things that I were told were deeply flawed in my life. And I'm finally like finding peace and comfort with like, you know what? I actually really like my nose, despite the fact that it was broken twice. I love my nose in that it shows off some of my different ancestry. There's a lot of different ethnicities. I don't know exactly which one my nose would be, but I have some big nose ancestry, and I kind of like representing the complexities of what is within my genetics. And like just like we appreciate mutts like dogs, I like to appreciate the mutt that is me. Like I like my dog Phoebe, my dog, she's not mine, she's my niece Maisie's puppy Phoebe. I wrote that book about her. She's my little squishmallow. She's a beagle. She's a total mix. She has no Shar-Pei in her, but you'd think she would. But she's my Salvation of Purity is the book that I wrote about her, and it was a gift for Maisie for her birthday. I met them down the street, and Phoebe is such a healing dog. She's so sweet. She's like this big and with a huge head and big jowls because she's got some hound in her too. She's a beagle hound, complete mix, and she's the cutest, sweetest thing in the world, but she's definitely like a freaky looking dog. Like she's quirky. Like you look at her and you're like, this is a puppy. Like she in this awkward growth phase, and then you're just like, she's the most unique, beautiful thing in the world. And I want people to kind of view themselves in that way, as long as they're having healthy expressions. But then even if you're unhealthy, you should still have self-love. But I think we should always redirect people into a state of health and wellness, and I think that's a spectrum.
I mean, I can like all of these things. I'm like chanting yes, 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 because it's like bring those things that people have like cast as imperfections, bring those to the conversation. Let's talk about them. And then like fully accepting and fully embracing people can be like, no, your nose is amazing. I love those big jowls. Like, or whatever those things are about your body or even your personality. Sometimes there might be something where it's like, hey, you need to bring that with you because maybe there's some like m- some some healing that you might need to have, and you're not going to be able to access that healing until you bring that to the conversation, right? And maybe there's this like, oh, I've got this deep insecurity about this thing, or I've got this challenge, I've had this trauma in my life, but like there's you can find some healing in yourself, but bringing that to a place where it's like, no, it's okay to have that. We all have that. Like we're all here being vulnerable, and we're all here discussing things and shit that we find that's fucked up in ourselves or society or whatever the hell it is. Like bring it and let's talk about it, and you can be more comfortable with it. And you can say, okay, I can start to heal now. I can be better for it. And that way we're building each other up, right? We're having discussions about building each other up. And that's like full circle to what we were talking about earlier. Like Like, let's have constructive discussions and let's build each other up with these discussions and let's not tear each other down with them. Because why? Why do we need to tear each other down? Like, there's no fucking point. Like, that's just making the world an uglier place, tearing each other down. Let's build each other up. Imagine the things we could do if we just practice that, building each other up. Like, I know one
Well,
thing, like in this house that Amanda and I have built, like there is zero tolerance for tearing people down in this house. Right? That doesn't mean we don't like talk a little shit, but if you're in this house, we're gonna build you up. That's all we're gonna do. Like, we're not gonna tear you down. We're not gonna like try to break you. We're not gonna try to point out fucking something that we deem the flaw or some fucked up shit. We're just going to build you up. And that's what we do.
Well, yeah, and I think like when it comes to addressing flaws, I have this conversation with Chad, and this is not a dig at my husband. This is more so a dig at Tom and how he was raised. Because I'm like, it's yes, you can be blunt. Yes, you can be direct. Yes, you can be honest, but there's still a way to say it without like you're not being dishonest. He's like, well, I'm not. He thinks he was raised that sugarcoating things meant that you were being dishonest. And I was like, well, no, like there's just a respectable way to express your concern, your disgruntlement, whatever it is, without making it like a such a personal attack where I'm asking you, do you even like me? Why are we together? If this is the problem you have and it's that big of a deal, then like I don't understand why we're together. And then like you break Chad down a lot and you find out that it's like, oh, well, if that's what it was, you could have just said this. And I hate doing that to him. I try not to, but sometimes I have to remind him, I'm like, again, it's not that you said no to me. It's how you said no, or it's how it happened because you made it something that it's like a dog whistle. You knew it was something but it's like, well, I'm just being honest. It was like, well, some things you can keep to yourself, but also I wasn't asking for honest feedback. You're highlighting something I'm already aware of, and I'm also already beating myself up about, and I'm working to fix within myself. I don't need you constantly like, hey, are you working on that? Hey, are you working on that? Hey, are you working on that? It's like, yeah, bitch, I'm fucking working on it. Leave me the fuck alone and just hold space with me through this growth period of imperfection, because I promise I'm working on these flaws. And if I need help with working on the flaw, I'll talk to you. Stacy, she gave me another compliment. I had talked to her about some stuff, and she goes, a few people have said that to me in the past, and I didn't always take it very well. And she goes, I'm actively trying to take things better. She goes, but I also have to say, I really like how you approached me with it, because it was so much like, hey, like, not that I was dismissive about it or like up in the air, but I was just like, I detached the personal attack and kind of presented it more of like, well, is a curiosity, I guess would be a good way. She says that. She goes, I'm trying to approach this with curiosity. And when she says that to me, I feel better immediately about whatever she's asking me. I'm instantly not defensive because I understand that most of the time people are just trying to figure things out and they're actually not attacking you, and they're just kind of expressing themselves through the lens, like Chad, that he was raised. This is how he learned how to communicate, because that's how his dad talks and that's how his dad speaks to everybody. His dad's an incredibly belittling human being, and it's atrocious. And so Chad, as much as he is not a bad man at all, he works really hard at communication, but there are times where it comes out. Here's the thing. I'm not perfect. I have said some awful things, okay? Like, I get in my feels, and that man, you want testament for how good of a man that man is. You should have seen me at some of my worst crash outs, which I know you know. When I get Sarah on somebody, Sarah amplified to the extreme can be a very ugly thing, and I've tried to work on not getting to those points. But I also realized how much I, as a woman, oppressed and suppressed my own anger to where it came out in some of the ugliest ways possible. And a worse man, or just a lesser man, would have beat the shit out of me. Genuinely. Like, I don't think anyone deserves to get hit. But like I tell people very like just directly, like, if I was him, I would have slapped the shit out of me. Like, genuinely. If you're watching a movie and you're seeing a character, if you're detaching from the personalness of it, you're just watching a movie, you might even say, dude, I would beat the fuck out of that person. Like, you know how you get into characters and what side you would choose. That man is so calm, so patient. He has looked at me. He has let me scream at him in his face. Not saying I should have done that. That was like a very not cool side of me. to be very honest about, but I reached an explosive moment, and that man was so calm and so patient and held so much space because I think he realized like where I was, and he's not going to make the situation worse. He obviously loves me and he doesn't want anything bad to happen to me because what we break down into is we just want to take care of each other. And I'm in a really triggered space where I'm feeling completely unsafe and I'm going to defend myself and I'm ready to fight. And he's not going to fight me. And he's just going to let me wear myself out like a little kid. I'm just going to tantrum. And then he's going to put me to bed.
That's a great example of like just being authentic and bringing your authentic self. And it's amazing to have a space to do that, right? You've got a partner to do that with. I have a partner to do that with. And it's a big deal, right? Like, I think that's how we like actually become better. And I think you're 100% right. Like, you can be, you can be honest with somebody, but you don't have to be a fucking asshole at the same time, right? Honesty doesn't equal fucking dickhead. Like, it doesn't have to. Honesty can just be constructive. And you can say, like, as long as, I mean, I say as long as, but you have to trust that the recipient isn't going to lose their fucking mind. But even if the recipient loses their fucking mind, it's like, hey, okay, well, maybe the way I communicated that honesty wasn't the best approach. Or maybe like we both have some shit to work on. Like, I can communicate something constructively as constructively as my brain can manifest it. And like, you can still lose your mind. And I go, okay, like, I can probably communicate that better. I'll work on that. I understand where I went wrong. And then you can say, well, I lost my fucking mind and I can see what your intention was. And maybe I should have been a little patient and ask you for some clarification or X, Y, Z, right? Like, these are like not necessarily communication styles, but it's like being patient on one hand and then just like having this policy to build each other up, right?
Well, it allows for
Yeah,
growth.
like I'm not going to say something to my wife or say something to someone I care about or say something to anybody, like, and with it not being something to build them up. And even if it's a challenging truth or it's a challenge, like, hey, you're doing this, and like that's like, I don't know if you can see the impact of this thing that you're doing, but here's the impact, and it's not positive. So like, let's talk about why the fuck you're doing that, because it's not cool. Someone could react to that with something terrible, but someone could be like, oh, okay, I'm recognizing that I suck or I like I'm doing something that's not okay. And so let's talk about it. But it's, I don't know. To me, it's like you have to just like put it in your heart that I'm going to do things and say things to build people up. I'm not going to tear people down.
Well, that's something I've learned. It's a few things. One, you people have to choose that. Like you can't make people choose that. I remember plenty of relationships I have tried to force them into like wanting that for themselves and for us, and it's like, well, you're obviously not choosing. You can't force people to choose you. Um, but then, like I was also saying, it gives an opportunity for growth. I think that too many, especially in modern society, there's a lot of instant gratification. And if it's not perfect in my way and exactly curated specifically for me and exactly how I want it, and if you don't fucking shift into how I want you to be in this whatever, then I'm just gonna like throw you away. And it's like, and then that feeds people's insecurities to be perfect. And then I feel like that breeds narcissism personally, because that's ultimately the core root of narcissism is perfectionism. And then this like God complex, but it's rooted in like, well, this was expected of me. So then I expect it of other people. And then it just kind of keeps getting passed down the line.
I agree. I completely agree. And I do need to kind of wrap up here pretty quick, but like we were both talking about our spouses and how amazing they are, right? Like it's
Oh, yes.
kind of a good note, right? To be like, okay, like praise to them for tolerating both of us.
Oh yeah, oh no, 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 like I say all the
Yeah,
time when
totally.
Christopher told me I was difficult and stressful almost every day of our relationship towards the end, and here's the thing, I can't deny that. Chad would probably agree with
Right,
him,
good. Should be.
but but at the same time, like Chad's not a pussy. Chad's not weak. Men, I feel like, should be able to tolerate it. And that's my dig. And I mean that because, like, I'm still a little bitter. But my husband, I really pride him on being able to accept me and to love me. I feel like that's why, like, you and Amanda were always such a model for me. I feel like you guys express unconditional love, not in this, like, negative way of, like, being a doormat, but just, like, genuinely holding space for your right to exist and be who you want to be and not be in a controlling relationship. There's like, you don't expect Amanda to be anyone except Amanda, even as she changes. And I would say she does the same for you. And I always wanted a partner like that. I feel like I have a partner who does that. Chad is a wonderful man. He's patient. He's strong. He's very kind despite some of his disgruntlement. He's funny. You just have to know his sense of humor, his communication. I think that goes in with not judging a book by its cover. Chad is a great example of that. I would argue I'm a great example of that. Any black sheep would be. But I forgot what part of your point, because I know you have to wrap up, so I'm trying not to lose track of that.
All good. I think it's like you said it like because dude was like, okay, she's difficult and whatever. Like I say it to a lot of people in their relationships. I had a friend that got married not too long ago. I was like, look, like, don't stop is like the big key because it's going to be difficult. Like, you're going to be difficult. I'm difficult. Amanda's difficult. Sarah's difficult. Chad's difficult. We're all difficult because we're all complex creatures and we're bringing ourselves, as long as we're bringing ourselves authentically to our relationships, it's going to be fucking difficult. Like, if anybody's going into any relationship thinking, like, oh, this is like, I'm done. This is going to be easy. I've got a partner now. I'm married. Like, cool. Fucking, I get to like lay down and take a fucking nap and eat a fucking sandwich. Like, no, like it's really, really hard. It's really, really hard work. Like, you go through some difficult shit and like shaping each other is difficult. Like, it's really fucking hard. So expect it to be really hard. And if you can find someone that like is willing to do the difficult things with you, you found your person.
Well, yeah, because I think like when people think difficult, they instantly think like abuse. It's like, no, it's
Yeah.
not difficult in like abuse. It's difficult in the fact that there's collaboration. Like teamwork is not always an easy skill, and then people evolve over time. Like there's so many different hardships to life, but it's the emotional difficulty and how you conduct yourself to remember to not personalize. It's you and them versus the problem, right? Like it's you and your spouse versus the problem, not you and your spouse versus each other. And again, a lot of people, just like we're doing full circle again, we're turning that like issue us versus them, like we're othering each other instead of attacking the problem. So instead of dealing with immigration, education, healthcare, we're attacking people who have different ideas instead of trying to hear everyone's idea and find the best balanced centered solution for everyone. Because everyone's so difficult and complex, there's so many nuances and variables in the world that we need to have free speech and open discussion to be able to figure out what is going to be the most harmonious solution. And everyone has to give up something. You can't have it your way. Nothing's gonna be perfect for everybody. Even myself. Like I said, I can have my cake and eat it too. I am having to lay my sword down. I'm having to come to an agreement of an understanding of, well, you have to compromise. You have to give up something. It's not gonna be completely perfect, but it's gonna be pretty fucking close because it's balanced. You're gonna feel perfect or centered because you can actually stand on the ground.
Yeah, and I would say a fair compromise is perfect.
Yeah. Because, like,
That-
I mean, at the end of the day, you're making someone miserable when it's all about you.
A fair compromise is perfect. So go for that.
And with that, we can end if you want.
Yeah.
Before I start rambling again, because I will start talking, and then you'll be like, Sarah, I was supposed to go
Yeah.
like an hour ago, and then we're on another 7-hour call.
We've done that.
Yeah, so multiple times enough to know. So with that, I guess I don't know the conclusion of this episode. I've never done that, but I don't know how to end things.
I can end things with thank you for giving me the opportunity, and thank you for honoring me the way you do and giving me the flowers that you do, because it's a very big part of my life, and so I love you for that, and I always will.
Well, thank you. Well, I love you. Thank you for joining in on my weird world, drinking some moon juice and just yapping with me. This is for the audience and people are listening. This is how our FaceTimes and voice notes and daily conversations go. We're just dismantling everything. We're just having an open discussion. And so I hope that this podcast leaves everybody with some hope for a brighter future. And may we all strive for a harmonious world. Cheers.
Cool.
And stop.